Chapter 906. He lived close to the Greenpeng sect. Even though Dongbua Shuiying was bestowed with a treasure by forefather Tianyu, making it hard for the Black Emperor to spy on him, but because of the Cinnabar inheritance, the Black Emperor could ascertain Dongbua Shuiying's location. He could also deduce Dongbua Shuiying's attainments in the Cinnabar inheritance. Even though Jiezu's lineage is generally weak, it is easy to cultivate. The Black Emperor thought, this lineage of mine is extremely powerful, but it is extremely difficult to cultivate. He and Jiezu were life and death brothers. They grew up step by step from a weak young age. Even when they were at the primal chaos realm, they were still competing with each other. But later on, the Black Emperor was stuck at the primal chaos realm, while Jiezu had stepped into the final realm. He was even one of the top 3 final realm existences. The Devour class system could be said to be the simplest system. It was spread far and wide. Many void creatures with low talent and comprehension abilities would learn the Devour class system. They would wantonly devour and become stronger. But the Black Emperor was actually disdainful of it, because Devour class cultivators were usually at the bottom of the Origin Birth realm and at the Unity realm. The Devour class cultivators at the Unity realm were usually at the 1st or 2nd level Star Pagoda strength. Like the Laws and Profound Mysteries system and the Hex cultivation system, they could reach the 3rd level Star Pagoda strength, of which the elites could reach the 4th level Star Pagoda, and the geniuses could reach the 5th level Star Pagoda. And the Black Emperor had an ancient cultivation inheritance. It was even more exaggerated. A single inheritance could allow a Unity realm expert to reach the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Fusing 4 inheritances together, the Unity realm would have the combat power of the 7th floor of Star Tower. Hence, the Black Emperor and Jiezu had chosen different paths due to their encounters in the past. Hence, the outcome was entirely different. This path of mine is extremely difficult to cultivate. It is rare for someone to cultivate the Cinnabar inheritance to the pinnacle of the Unity realm. The Black Emperor thought, observe carefully. If I find it not bad, I can impart 1 or 2 more inheritances to him. He would not impart all 4 legacies at once. After all, when he had leaked the 4 great legacies, he had even kept his ultimate move a secret. This showed the Black Emperor's temperament. From the looks of it, the Great Void Heaven Temple values him so much. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for them to accept him as a disciple. The Black Emperor thought to himself. Apart from Dongbua Shuiying, there were only 2 juniors in his lineage. One of them was unable to be accepted as a disciple due to his special status, while the other was accepted as a disciple by the Black Emperor. He was also his only direct disciple. The rest were just disciples in name. The Black Emperor had been living in seclusion beside the Greenpeng sect for just over 1,000,000 years, but he was already looking in the direction of the mountain behind the Greenpeng sect. A loud chirp resounded throughout the entire Greenpeng sect. Others did not know, but the Black Emperor could rely on the inheritance to sense that the Cinnabar in the direction of the mountain behind the Greenpeng sect had been reborn and was much stronger. It should have risen by an entire level. He actually raised the strength of the Cinnabar inheritance to the 6th floor of Star Tower, and so fast. The Black Emperor was startled. In his lineage, the other 2 juniors were at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Later on, they stepped into the primal chaos realm and cultivated the inheritance to a deeper level. The Black Emperor was different. The earliest inheritance he received was to cultivate 4 inheritances at the same time. These 4 inheritances had consumed him a lot of effort. When he was at the Unity realm, the 4 inheritances were at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. When the 4 inheritances were fused together, his strength would explosively increase, reaching the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower. He had never thought of changing the core of the Cinnabar inheritance, because the 4 inheritances were mutually supporting one another. If he changed one, the other 3 would have to follow suit, and they had to fuse together perfectly. The Black Emperor did not even dare to think about it. And because Dongbua Shuiying had only received 1 inheritance, he took the initiative to improve it to the 6th level. The other 2 brats had only received 1 inheritance in the past, yet they did not reach this stage. The Black Emperor was startled. And it is too fast. This innate talent and comprehension ability made the Black Emperor sigh in surprise. This brat Dombua's innate talent is definitely above the other two. He isn't any weaker than me. The Black Emperor was still very confident. He felt that the reason why he did not improve was because he had received the complete 4 inheritances. Green Peng Sect Back Mountain, within the cultivation room of the Taoist Elder's cavern dwelling. Accompanied by a cry from the reborn cinnabar, Dongbua Shuang opened his eyes. The enormous cinnabar god bird behind him spread its wings. It was flapping slowly, causing a fiery red aura to spread out in all directions. The Tao of Mirage and Cinnabar's inheritance are indeed a perfect match. I only spent 1,000,000 years or so before succeeding, allowing my strength to improve greatly. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. These few years, he had modified the core illusory realm world of Cinnabar many times. Previously, he had improved slightly, and Cinnabar's body did not undergo any qualitative transformation. But this time, Cinnabar's entire body had undergone a transformation. Even his own soul had benefited from it. The illusory realm world had changed, and Cinnabar had undergone a rebirth. His own soul had also experienced the feeling of being reborn, becoming stronger once again. His soul was at least 4 times stronger than before he cultivated. Hua! Dongbua Shuang sent out a thought. At that moment, many minute illusory worlds appeared in the surroundings. A total of 15-minute illusory worlds were brewing their sharpness. But everything was illusory, and Dongbua Shuang dispersed them with a thought. 15 sky punishment edges. Dongbua Shuang revealed a joyous look. With my current strength, I might be able to break through to the 7th level of Star Pagoda. 3 sky punishment edges could be considered as the 6th floor of Star Tower. And now, there were a total of 15 of them. Perhaps he might be qualified to break through. But everything could only be proven through the battles within the Star Tower. In the history of the 6 great holy grounds, there were only 2 experts who reached the 7th level of Star Pagoda. The difficulty was extremely high. Dongbua Shuang only felt that he was much stronger than when he first entered the 6th floor of Star Tower. Perhaps he might be qualified to break through, but he was not confident. The reason why I have such strength is because of the assistance from the ancient cultivation. Dongbua Shuang thought. But now that I have cultivated the Cinnabar inheritance to this stage, I will have to reach the primal chaos realm if I want to improve further. The Cinnabar inheritance relied on the accumulation of the Tao of Mirage to reach this stage. And now that he had touched the primal chaos realm in the Tao of Mirage, it would be difficult for him to break through. Thinking about it, it would be hard for him to improve his strength by even a strand. He could no longer improve his Tao of Mirage, and his Void Walker system had reached the 40th level. So what if he improved his Tao of Slaughter? Grasping the apocalyptic 6th sword would only allow him to reach the power of the 6th floor of Star Tower. The Sky Punishment Edge was originally an offensive move. Grasping the apocalyptic 6th sword would not improve his strength. Only the Tao of Ripple, which belonged to the domain aspect, would improve. If he could improve it, he could suppress his opponent with his domain before executing the Sky Punishment Edge. I will need quite a bit of time to break through in the Tao of Ripple. But following this, I should focus on the Tao of Ripple. Dongbua Shuang understood this point. 1 Tao path, touching the primal chaos realm. 2 Tao paths, touching the primal chaos realm. When many Tao paths touched the primal chaos realm, then his understanding of the primal chaos realm would deepen. Naturally, his chances of stepping into the primal chaos realm would be much higher. This was also the reason why in history, many of those on the 6th floor of Star Tower did not step into the primal chaos realm. But those on the 7th floor of Star Tower would definitely step into the primal chaos realm, because those on the 7th floor of Star Tower cultivated many Tao paths. I am also cultivating many Tao paths and charging towards the primal chaos realm at the same time. By combining them, I believe my chances of stepping into the primal chaos realm will greatly increase. Dongbua Shuang thought. Reaching his level, his goal was naturally the primal chaos realm. His wife had long transcended, and Dongbua Shuang did not have much to worry about. Naturally, he would focus on cultivation. Currently, he would frequently comprehend the walker's hidden secret and the Tao of Mirage. These two Tao paths had touched the primal chaos realm. After feeling perplexed, he would start researching the Tao of Ripple. Another few years passed. One day, a violet-robed figure appeared in midair outside the Green Pung sect. He looked at the Green Pung sect from afar. His eyes were filled with cold intent. Dongbo Shueying, you will protect the Green Pung sect. If I attack the Green Pung sect, you should rush over, right? Saint Wang Ming looked from afar. But at this moment, it was merely an incarnation of his. Furthermore, he had changed his appearance and aura. Chapter 907. Saint Wang Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked at the Green Pung sect in front of him. He did not care about the threat that Dongbo Shueying posed to the saints of the ancient sacred religion in the future. After all, the ancient sacred religion was enemies with the three great sacred worlds. They had many enemies, and an additional primal chaos realm expert was not worth mentioning. Deep in his heart, it was because of hatred. He hated Dongbo Shueying for killing his little brother. Thus he went around pulling strings. Even so, the saints from the ancient sacred religion were not too willing. They truly did not care about Shueying. So what if there was an additional cosmos god? The ancient sacred religion was still the strongest. Previously, they had asked Master Jiaming to find out the location of Dongbo Shueying, yet they failed. They were forced to give up on the first plan. Saint Wang Ming thought of another way. He spent a few million years and sought the help of many higher-ups within the religion before finally coming up with the second plan. The second plan was actually less costly for the ancient sacred religion. Wang Ming, since the search has failed, the Great Void Heaven Temple will definitely be cautious. Even though we can ascertain that Dongbo Shueying is protecting the Green Pung sect, it is entirely possible for him to give up on Green Pung sect for his own safety. On the other hand, the Great Void Heaven Temple might beat us at our own game and lay a trap in the Green Pung sect, waiting for us to step on it. Thus, this is already the limit we can agree to. A higher-up within the religion answered Saint Wang Ming. Even though Saint Wang Ming felt helpless, he knew that this was the limit. For the sake of a Unity Realm expert, would the ancient sacred religion really have to pay such a huge price? That was impossible. As long as he is slightly careless, this second plan might succeed. I will kill him in one fell swoop, Saint Wang Ming thought. This was the only chance. The ancient sacred religion had been collecting intelligence from various places. That time when Dongbo Shueying publicly suppressed the Green Pung sect to become a Taoist elder, he had even used the Black Gourd Fireball. The ancient sacred religion could ascertain the identity of Dongbo Shueying the moment they got the intelligence, because that time when Dongbo Shueying destroyed a base of the ancient sacred religion, he had also used the Black Gourd Fireball. Even though they knew that Shueying was protecting the Green Pung sect, the ancient sacred religion did not have the confidence that Shueying would still stand up for the Green Pung sect, after knowing that the ancient sacred religion is searching for him. South Saint Wang Ming turned into a stream of light and charged towards the Green Pung sect. At the same time, a voice filled with killing intent resounded through the heavens and earth. Old thief Beizhou, come out and die! Beizhou was the strongest expert in the Green Pung sect before Shueying came. Chun with the Green Bay intent surged Beiqing. Zhou, a voice filled with killing intent reverberated throughout the Green Pung sect, causing countless disciples to look up. Even the yellow-haired elder Beizhou looked up in confusion. Seeing the purple-robed figure in the distance, Elder Beizhou was extremely puzzled. Who is it? Does he have a grudge against me? But I don't know him. Is Elder Beizhou your enemy? Elder Beizhou. One by one they asked. Elder Beizhou was bewildered. Could it be an enemy that he had inadvertently provoked in the past? This was considered common. After all, the 10,000 ancient sacred world was a chaotic place with countless killings taking place. It was possible that the descendants of the experts who were killed would come to seek revenge after cultivating for a long period of time. Boom, boom, boom. The purple-robed figure in the sky immediately made his move. With a wave of his hand, bolts of purple lightning descended from the sky and struck the Green Pung sect furiously. Boom, boom, boom. The power was extremely strong. Although Dongbo Shueying had set up a formation, one was an illusion formation, One was an alarm formation, and the only one was a massacre formation. The sword light released by the formation was barely able to withstand the lightning bolts. The array formation was on the verge of collapse. Hurry up and seek help from Taoist elder. We can't hold on any longer. The higher-ups of the Greenpeng sect immediately understood this point. Greenpeng sect master Gusheng personally transmitted a message. Dongbua Shueying was currently cultivating within the cultivation room in his cavern dwelling. The cultivation room was not completely isolated from the outside world, and he could hear the words an old thief Beizhou, hurry up and die. Dongbua Shueying thought that it was an enemy of Elder Beizhou, but following that the disturbance was huge. The rumbling ripples caused Dongbua Shueying to stop cultivating. Just from this power, it should be an expert at the 5th level star pagoda? Dongbua Shueying thought. It might be even higher. But he did not know. The incarnation of Saint Wang Ming was currently using his full strength. After all, it was just an incarnation and was too far away from his true body. The strength of his true body's willpower was limited, and he had to risk his life to unleash such power. Such an expert should know that I am protecting the Greenpeng sect, right? Yet he is still acting so forcefully? Is it because he doesn't know my identity? Dongbua Shueying thought. It was true that he did not publicize his identity. Only those at the peak of the superpowers could determine Dongbua Shueying's identity. Most experts without a huge background would not know of it. Even though there were many thoughts in his mind, Dongbua Shueying still raised his vigilance. A layer of pale, white robe appeared on the surface of his soul. This was also one of the treasures bestowed by forefather Tianyu. Only then did the door to the cultivation room rumble open. South after coming out, Dongbua Shueying immediately flew up. He looked at the distant violet-robed figure. At this moment, a black light appeared from nothingness. It had already arrived in front of him. Dongbua Shueying was greatly alarmed. He felt an intense threat. What? He actually invaded my domain without me noticing? He could actually stealthily enter his law domain. Wang! A terrifying ripple appeared. The sky which originally had a sun abruptly changed. A terrifying pressure enveloped the entire Greenpeng sect. All the disciples of the Greenpeng sect remained motionless as they felt an immense fear. Even Saint Wang Ming's incarnation, which was disguised as an ordinary expert of the myriad ancient sacred world, also felt fear. Although his incarnation was weaker, the one controlling it was his own will. This meant that even if his true body came, he would also feel fear. Who? Who exactly is it? Everything was in chaos. Under the terrifying pressure, even Dongbua Shueying was shocked. The threat from this was 10 times, 100 times stronger than the black light earlier. Under the pressure, a figure was forced to appear in midair in front of Dongbua Shueying. This was a black-robed female. Her eyes were filled with deathly stillness as she stared coldly at Dongbua Shueying. After that, she raised her head and looked into the distance. Dongbua Shueying also looked into the distance. Far away, a black-robed male walked over. His black robes fluttered as a formless aura covered the sky. Black Emperor. The black-robed female, who was emitting a deathly stillness, coldly said, "So it is Yellow Spring Master." Black Emperor nonchalantly said. Dongbua Shueying was inwardly shocked when he heard that. Yellow Spring Master? This was one of the strongest existences amongst the saints of the ancient sacred religion. He was also a 9th-level star pagoda expert, and was famous for his assassination and sneak attacks. But Dongbua Shueying could see that this Yellow Spring Master was merely an incarnation. If his true body came, he would not be so easily suppressed by Black Emperor. But why did Black Emperor help him? Who would have thought that Black Emperor is here too? If you weren't here, he would have died here today. The black-robed female coldly said. Dongbua Shueying curled his lips inwardly. What a joke! He had an entire set of survival treasures, given by forefather Tianyu. Even if the true body of Yellow Spring Master came, he could still hold on for 1 or 2 moments. This 1 or 2 moments were sufficient for him to execute ultra-long distance teleportation and escape. This is the myriad ancient sacred world. It isn't the territory of your ancient sacred religion. Black Emperor indifferently said. Also, with me around, you can forget about harming little friend Dongbua. The black-robed female, and the distant Saint Wang Ming were both startled. The extremely transcendent Black Emperor was actually protecting Dongbua Shuang? 2 incarnations. The ancient sacred religion is becoming more and more stingy. Black Emperor shook his head. Pung, pung. The distant Saint Wang Ming's body exploded and dissipated. The black-robed female's body suffered from an unseen primal suppression and was directly crushed into nothingness. Shuang stood by the side, watching everything unfold in a daze. With me around, you can forget about harming little friend Dongbua at all? Little friend Dongbua? When did I become so close to the Black Emperor? I've never seen him before today. Little friend Dongbua. The Black Emperor revealed a smile. He turned towards Dongbua Shuang. Chapter 908. Senior Black Emperor. Dongbua Shuang said, "Many thanks for your help, Senior. If not for Senior, this Junior would have been in trouble." Ha ha ha. The Black Emperor laughed. Previously, little friend Dongbua did not panic at all when facing the ambush. You should have prepared some methods to defend against it. The Great Void Heaven Temple is a holy ground for the laws and profound mysteries cultivation system. It specializes in refining all sorts of unique treasures. With how protective Forefather Tianyu is, he should have given little friend some powerful life-saving treasures. I am merely making use of this opportunity to meet little friend. I have been staying by the side of the Green Pung sect for some time, and it is time for me to meet you. Meet me? Dongbua Shuang was startled. He then chuckled. Who would have thought that Senior is actually living by the side of the Green Pung sect? What a coincidence. Previously he was puzzled. Ultra-long distance teleportation was something even the high and mighty final realm existences could not execute. Only a few ancient primal chaos giants could do it. Naturally, he had obtained the incomplete 4-diagram cultivation technique created by Emperor Juyun, which allowed him to execute ultra-long distance teleportation. Even though the Black Emperor was formidable, he had never heard of him knowing ultra-long distance teleportation. Why would the Black Emperor suddenly appear when Yellow Spring Master ambushed him? So he was living by the side. Unfortunately, the Black Emperor chuckled. The reason why I'm living in the Green Pung sect is because of you. Because of me? Dongbua Shuang felt even more puzzled. Ha ha ha. Are you going to let me stand here and talk with you? The Black Emperor asked. Dongbua Shuang replied, I am ashamed. Senior Black Emperor, please. Hence, the two entered the cavern dwelling together. There were many disciples in the Green Pung sect. They were watching the development of the situation dumbfoundedly. First, a violet-robed male came to seek revenge against Elder Beizhou. Following that, the world seemed to turn into primal chaos, and a black-robed male, with unfathomable power that made them feel fear, stepped on the void and walked over. His power far surpassed that of the black-gourd fireball that Dongbua Shuang displayed previously. Fear, trembling, the black-clothed man merely glanced at him, and the purple-robed man, who seemed to be extremely powerful, directly exploded into nothingness. Now, this black-robed man and their Grand Elder entered the cave together. Who? It seems like the Grand Elder is also very respectful towards him. This power is too terrifying. He should be at the primal chaos realm, right? Everyone was quietly discussing. As for some of the higher-ups of the Green Pung sect, their expressions changed. They knew of some of the people with extremely high statuses in the entire myriad ancient sacred world. The Black Emperor disdained concealing his identity and changing his appearance. So these Green Pung sect upper echelons who were knowledgeable enough also recognized the Black Emperor's identity, and they couldn't help but be speechless. Black Emperor? It's the Black Emperor. The Grand Supreme Elder is actually acquainted with the Black Emperor. They looked at each other, their hearts racing. Even though there were some primal chaos giants in the myriad ancient sacred world, the reputation of the Black Emperor far surpassed that of ordinary primal chaos giants. He and Jiezu addressed each other as brothers. In the distant ancient sacred world, beneath the lake palace, Saint Wang Ming sat on his throne. His expression was ugly. The servants by his side were holding their breaths. They could feel that their master was currently in a terrible mood. All of you scram. Saint Wang Ming coldly said. Yes. The attendants all retreated. Saint Wang Ming sat there silently. After a long time he muttered. the Black Emperor actually interfered. I had to spend a lot of effort to persuade the higher-ups of the religion, allowing them to invite Yellow Spring Master to act once. If not for him, we might have succeeded. Because Yellow Spring Master had merely acted with his incarnation. Even if it dissipated, he would not suffer any losses. But for someone of Yellow Spring Master's status to act once, it was not easy. If Saint Wang Ming were to directly invite him, he would have to fork out at least 1,000 to 2,000 origin world rocks. AI. The religion isn't willing to fork out too much. They feel that the chances of success are too low. Saint Wang Ming gritted his teeth. If we were at war now, we could easily dispatch a team to get rid of Dongbua Shuang. The ancient sacred religion was currently in a recuperation phase. Over the long years, usually, it was the sacred master who initiated the war. Every single war would be filled with blood, and it was common for cosmos gods to fall. Existences at the second level like Emperor Jian and Ancestor Tsang had fallen. There were even more deaths at the third level. There were actually more than 5 sacred worlds in the sacred world. It was just that a large-scale war had caused the sacred worlds to shatter. Like Gu Qi, it was precisely because he dared to spoil the plans of the sacred master, incurring the fury of the sacred master. Even places like the 7-star oceanic sacred world did not dare to protect him, because if the sacred master truly disregarded the price, most ordinary sacred worlds could not survive against him. Places like the Ancestor Mother Sacred World and Myriad Ancient Sacred World had some hope of surviving. And Gu Qi was a void walker who had reached the final realm, and his escaping capabilities were great. Even under the fury of the sacred master, he could survive until today. It's just that Gu Qi had ordered. He forbade Dongbua Shuang from revealing the matter of him being his disciple, because the moment it was made public, the fury of the sacred master towards Gu Qi would likely implicate Dongbua Shuang. Much less a Unity Realm expert. Even Primal Chaos Realm experts would find it hard to survive under the fury of the sacred master. It's a pity that the war has ended. Saint Wang Ming sighed inwardly. During the period of war, both parties would suffer heavy casualties. After the war ended, both parties would rest and recuperate. At most, they would engage in small-scale battles. And it was rare for Primal Chaos Realm giants to fall, much less cosmos gods. Currently many old fellows in the religion are cultivating. I should wait for an opportunity, Saint Wang Ming thought. As long as he waited for an opportunity, like when the war broke out, he would be able to suppress Shuang to death as a saint. After all, many experts would fall by then. As for now, Saint Wang Ming understood that he could only wait. In the mountain behind the Greenpeng sect, within the cavern dwelling of Dongbua Shuang, Dongbua Shuang served up the wine. At the same time he said, Senior Black Emperor is living in seclusion by the side of the Greenpeng sect because of me? I wonder why this little brat would make Senior like this. You have cultivated the Cinnabar inheritance? Black Emperor took a sip of wine before asking with a smile. Yes. Dongbua Shuang was startled. How did Senior Black Emperor know? Oh, is it because of the disturbance when I broke through? Black Emperor softly shook his head. Hong. Suddenly, a fiery red bird appeared behind him. The feathers of this enormous bird could be seen clearly. Its pair of eyes seemed to be filled with emotions. Its enormous wings were flapping slightly, causing many fiery red air currents to pervade the surroundings. Every single stream of air seemed to contain a miniature cosmos undulating. Dongbua Shuang was startled when he saw this. The enticement produced by this cinnabar phenomenon was much stronger than what he experienced. Fortunately, Black Emperor was deliberately restraining himself. Otherwise, he would have fallen for it. Who would have thought that Senior Black Emperor has cultivated the cinnabar inheritance too, and has reached such a realm? Dongbua Shuang praised. It was recorded in the public intelligence. Black Emperor was famous for being tyrannical. He fought head-on with his opponents. No one had heard that he specialized in the illusory realm. The Cinnabar inheritance is something that I disseminated to the outside world. Black Emperor chuckled. That time, I released a total of 30 original copies. Some cosmos gods or huge superpowers might have obtained it, and some might have been lost. Senior imparted it? Dongbua Shuang added. Senior has actually created such an ancient cultivation technique. Truly admirable. He was indeed filled with admiration. This ancient cultivation inheritance contained only a part of the illusory realm world. There was also an enticing aura, and it was beneficial to the soul. No. Black Emperor shook his head. I can't create it. This is a unique inheritance that I obtained by chance. According to the records in the inheritance, this is unique to me. After I cultivated it, I disseminated it to the outside world. Dongbua Shuang was enlightened. But I do not wish for my techniques to be known by the outside world. Thus, like the Cinnabar inheritance, what I disseminated is the 8 transformations of Cinnabar. In reality, there is still a 9th transformation. Black Emperor chuckled. There is still a 9th transformation? Dongbua Shuaying's eyes brightened. He could not help but want to obtain it, yet he did not know what to say. I can impart this 9th transformation to you. Black Emperor nodded. I've disseminated the inheritances one by one, because I hope that there will be some formidable experts in these 4 inheritances. I have yet to reach the final realm, but I hope that someone in the future can reach this stage. Chapter 909. 4 inheritances? Dongbua Shuang was bewildered. The Black Emperor nodded. Back then, this unique inheritance I obtained was actually separated into 4 different inheritances. All of them complement each other and possess unfathomable might. I have yet to cultivate these 4 inheritances to perfection, yet I already have my current strength. Once I reach perfection, I will be able to step into the ultimate realm. The reason I came to meet you is because I can see that you have some comprehension abilities. I feel that you are capable, and I'm willing to impart another inheritance to you. It's not that I'm petty. It's just that each of these 4 inheritances is extremely difficult to cultivate, and each of them has a different direction. You might be able to cultivate the Cinnabar inheritance, but that doesn't mean that you would be able to cultivate the other inheritances as well. It would be better for you to focus on one more inheritance first. If you manage to reach an extremely high realm in these 2 inheritances, you can come and look for me. I can impart the 3rd inheritance to you. The Black Emperor spoke. When Dongbua Shuang heard that, he hurriedly replied, Senior, it's already a great favor for me to be willing to impart it to you. He didn't ask for anything, yet he imparted the Tao. This was truly a great favor. Ha ha ha. The Black Emperor shook his head. I've been stuck at the final bottleneck for far too long, and I'm almost losing confidence. Hence, I hope that someone from my lineage would be able to do it. I can't do it. He truly didn't ask for anything, because he didn't need it. With his current status, did he lack treasures? Did he lack a backer? He didn't lack any. This was purely an obsession, because he was very clear of the uniqueness of his lineage. It shouldn't be any weaker than Jiezu's lineage, because both of them obtained fortuitous encounters at the same time, and chose their own paths. Other than the Cinnabar inheritance, the other 3 inheritances are the 9 Serpents inheritance, Imperial Dragon inheritance, and Mountain Beast inheritance. The Black Emperor pointed out as a beam of light flew towards Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuaying's law domain instantly determined that this beam of light contained information. He didn't obstruct it as his consciousness took the initiative to sense it. The beam of light vanished into thin air. You should have some understanding of the other 3 legacies. Choose one for yourself, the Black Emperor said. Dongbua Shuang was truly shocked when he found out about the other 3 inheritances. Back then, he chose to cultivate Cinnabar's inheritance because it could strengthen his soul. As for the other aspects, he did not think much of it. As for the internal structure of the illusory world, he felt that it was just SOSO. After all, the plate ripple diagram, 1-3 apocalyptic swords, and dark world that he had learned could allow him to reach the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm. Therefore, he naturally looked down on Cinnabar's inheritance. After that, Shuang relied on his attainments in the Tao of Mirage to improve it, allowing the Unity Realm and Cinnabar inheritance that was originally at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength to improve further. Deep in his heart, Dongbua Shuang was feeling a little proud of himself. So, the 4 legacies are 1. Dongbua Shuang was speechless. This was a perfect inheritance. If he cultivated all 4 inheritances, he could reach the strength of the 7th floor of Star Tower at the Unity Realm. More importantly, those who reached the 7th floor of Star Tower, at the Unity Realm, in the history of the 6 Great Holy Grounds, were usually strong in a certain aspect. All of them would have some flaws. For instance, Dongbo Shuang was strong in his offense. But this ancient inheritance was different. Cultivating all 4 inheritances was flawless. Strong soul, strong life force, strong combat, strong body strength, strong escaping ability, simply perfect. A perfect inheritance, Dongbo Shuang muttered. The Black Emperor could not help but feel a strand of bitterness in his heart when he heard that. That's right. Perfect. That time, he chose this path because of this point. Yet Jiezu chose another seemingly ordinary path. This is too perfect. Dongbo Shuang did not dare to imagine that such an ancient inheritance existed. For example, he cultivated the Mirage Dao, Ripple Dao, Slaughter Dao, and the Void cultivation system. He even obtained ultra-long distance teleportation. Although he had a lot of methods, it was far from perfect. And each of these 4 inheritances had their own specialties. Once they were combined, there would even be a qualitative change. A perfect fleshly body, a perfect soul, a perfect combat style. Such an inheritance actually exists. I've seen so many records in the Great Void Heaven Temple, but I've never heard of it. Dongbo Shuang muttered. Is this ancient cultivation? Saint Master was able to become the undisputed strongest expert amongst the final realm existences. Is it because of a similar ancient inheritance, or perhaps even more powerful? The more perfect it is, the harder it is to cultivate. The Black Emperor spoke. Brat, have you chosen? I have. Dongbo Shuang nodded. I choose the Imperial Dragon inheritance. 9 Snakes inheritance had an extremely strong life force, leaning towards the aspect of life. Mountain Beast inheritance had an extremely terrifying defense, leaning towards the aspect of earth. These were not what he was good at. Imperial Dragon inheritance leaned towards slaughter. Cinnabar inheritance was an illusory realm, involving the soul. When the 4 great inheritances were combined, there were many other mystical uses, such as escaping domains, etc. Hence, this was the perfect inheritance that left Dongbo Shuang speechless. To be able to create such an inheritance, one's methods far surpass one's imagination. It seemed like the strongest final realm existences possessed unimaginable strength. The Void Primogenitor was merely at the 3rd level, yet his Void Walker cultivation system was already so mystical. Although Emperor Juyin had died, his accomplishments in the Void were above that of the Void Primogenitor. Dongbo Shuang understood how amazing the Void Primogenitor's incomplete 4 diagrams absolute art was. The more he understood how terrifying experts who stood at the peak were. There's still him. Dongbo Shuang thought of another person, Lord Locheng. Any other primal chaos existences could at most escape in front of final realm existences. Only Lord Locheng could suppress the majority of final realm existences with his primal chaos body, including Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, Void Primogenitor, and the others who cultivated the laws and profound mysteries system. One had to know that Forefather Tianyu and the others had an inner cosmos to rely on. Even so, they could not fight against Lord Locheng. His realm was so high that it was unimaginable, but it seemed to have violated some unknown taboo. Even though his realm had reached the Cosmos God realm, he could not break through. Truly, the more I cultivate, the more insignificant I feel, Dongbo Shuang thought. And the Black Emperor flipped his hand, before bringing out 2 books, before placing them in front of Dongbo Shuang. One was a fiery red book. An illusory realm could be vaguely seen appearing around the book. The other was a black book that was filled with a baleful aura. A faint roar filled with killing intent could be heard from the book. After learning the 9th transformation of the Cinnabar inheritance, and memorizing the entire Imperial Dragon inheritance, the Black Emperor then floated away. In the following period, Dongbo Shuang had also collected some rare treasures required to cultivate the Imperial Dragon inheritance through the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion. But what he obtained from Emperor Juyun's treasure cove had been completely consumed. Fortunately, killing the great commander of Chief Devil Cliff. And some other experts gave him some harvest. It's indeed smooth. Dongbo Shuang had a carefree time cultivating the Imperial Dragon inheritance. Because he had deliberately chosen this inheritance to lean towards slaughter. Being someone with high attainments in the Tao of slaughter, he was just a step away from comprehending the apocalyptic sixth sword. Naturally, it was easy for him to cultivate the Imperial Dragon inheritance. He spent slightly more time than the Cinnabar inheritance. Just 8 million years or so, he had pushed the Imperial Dragon inheritance to the pinnacle of the Unity realm. But after cultivating it, it did not help his strength much. Within the cultivation room, Dongbo Shuang sat there cross-legged. Behind him, a mutated beast illusion covered in black scales appeared. Its hind claws were thick and strong, supporting its entire body. Its huge front claws were emitting an overflowing tyrannical aura. And on the palms of Dongbo Shuang, black scales had appeared. They were also emitting a slaughter aura. This pair of hands might be powerful, but it cannot be compared to my sky punishment edge. Dongbo Shuang sighed. But this Imperial Dragon inheritance cultivates the body. It actually strengthened my Voidwalker body by quite a bit. With a thought, his entire body was rapidly covered in a layer of black scales. It was as if he was wearing a layer of armor. Only his face maintained its original appearance. There is also the armor. This layer of armor is comparable to a low-grade Void God weapon. Dongbo Shuang nodded slightly. Even though it did not improve his offense, the strength of his body had increased. The defense of his armor was quite strong. It's a pity that if he cultivated the 4 inheritances to an extremely high realm and fused them together, his body would be truly terrifying. He would most likely be able to resist against the attacks of primal chaos giants. It is time for me to make a trip out. The second commander of Chief Devil Cliff, Monarch Chihu. He is still alive. It is time for me to kill him and fulfill my promise. Dongbo Shuang thought about it. He left the Green Pung sect stealthily on that very day. Chapter 910. Myriad Ancient Sacred World. There was a palace hidden in the Tsongsong mountain range. There were arrays placed around the palace, and ordinary Unity experts would have a hard time discovering it. This palace was the residence of the second commander of Chief Devil Cliff, Monarch Chihu. This luck of mine has fallen to rock bottom previously, but now it has turned around. Within a small courtyard within the palace, Monarch Chihu dismissed his servants. He was alone with a unique mirror in his hand. The reverse side of the mirror seemed to be made of ordinary stone. The front side was also made of stone, though it was extremely smooth. One could barely see his own appearance if he looked carefully. It could also be considered a mirror. But the mysteriousness of this stone mirror was unfathomable. That time, I saw that Black Chief Devil was sufficiently strong. What he specialized in was complementary to mine. That was why I was willing to join Chief Devil Cliff. Monarch Chihu caressed the stone mirror in his hand. By working together with him, our combat power has greatly increased. Even those experts at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength couldn't fight against the two of us. Killing and plundering. Those years were indeed enjoyable. It allowed me to accumulate quite a lot of resources. But who would have thought that he is actually a member of the 2 great religions? Monarch Chihu's eyes were cold. He even caused me to be implicated and captured by the experts under Jezu. He was directly captured, imprisoned and interrogated. Monarch Chi, who was filled with terror at that time. What identity did Jezu have? He stood practically at the pinnacle amongst final realm existences. Only that sacred master could suppress Jezu. That time, Monarch Chihu was in despair. He thought that he would be implicated and sentenced to death. Fortunately, after many investigations, it was determined that he had nothing to do with the 2 great religions. Thus, he was released and regained his freedom. Damn, that damned Black Chief Devil. Monarch Chihu became angrier the more he thought about it. Don't harm me even if you rely on the 2 great religions. You are dead, my luck is indeed good. Monarch Chihu could not help but look down at the stone mirror in his hand. He could not help but caress it twice. After he was released, he went to Chief Devil Cliff to plunder things like the protection arrays. That time, the 2 of them had paid a huge price. After that, he directly left, and Chief Devil Cliff quickly fell apart. Great Void Heaven Temple's Inner Hall Elder Dongbua Shuang actually dared to attack me and Black Chief Devil. Seems like I've killed too many people in these past few years, and offended some experts, which caused this Dongbua Shuang to come. Forget it. Although the accumulation of resources will be much slower, if I reduce my killing and plundering, it's still better to keep a low profile. Back then, Monarch Chi Hu had decided to keep a low profile. However, he still followed the imprint left on the body of Resistance Wind City Lord to search for it. Resistance Wind City Lord didn't even notice it, and Monarch Chi, who was scheming against him. In addition to the fact that he was far above Resistance Wind City Lord in terms of void penetration, Resistance Wind City Lord couldn't even escape, and was eventually exhausted to death. The stone mirror also landed in Monarch Chi Hu's hands. My luck has really taken a turn for the better. The stone mirror is even more mysterious than I thought. Monarch Chi Hu was extremely excited. With the help of the stone mirror, I might even be able to open an ancient cultivation path that belongs solely to me. It is not impossible for him to reach the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower, and even step into the primal chaos realm. It had been a few million years since he obtained the stone mirror. The more he comprehended, the more mysterious he found it. It was the most mystical treasure he had in his life. Henceforth, Monarch Chi Hu, who was originally hibernating and unwilling, was willing from the bottom of his heart. He temporarily gave up on killing and plundering. Instead, he focused on researching on the stone mirror. Humph. Wait until I become stronger and step into the primal chaos realm. At that time, I will be able to intimidate everyone. What can a puny inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple amount to? No matter how powerful an inner hall elder was, he was only at the Unity realm. As long as he stepped into the primal chaos realm, his status would be entirely different. He would become a true giant and overlord of a region. Like Unity realm experts who took the initiative to join a Holy Ground organization, the Holy Ground organization might not accept them. For instance, Jiezu was high above and disdained accepting Unity realm experts. But it was different for primal chaos giants. If they were willing to join a Holy Ground organization, the Holy Ground organization would be more than willing. There were even many primal chaos giants who were not too willing to join a Holy Ground organization because they might be able to obtain some help, but they would have to bear some responsibilities too. For instance, they might be arranged by the Holy Ground to the boundary of the void to fight with the destruction devils. Furthermore, the stronger an expert was, the prouder they would be. Hence, many primal chaos giants chose to establish their own organizations. For instance, Black Emperor and Ancestor Desert did not join a Holy Ground organization, reaching their level, unless the true body of a cosmos god came. It was impossible to threaten them. And cosmos gods would not form a huge enmity with these giants for no reason. Everything will be different after stepping into the primal chaos realm. Monarch Chi Hu was filled with expectations. He then looked down at the stone mirror in his hand. Previously, he did not have any confidence of stepping into the primal chaos realm, because he did not have a clear understanding of the primal chaos realm. But now that he had the stone mirror, he could vaguely see his Dao path to the primal chaos realm over the past few million years. Naturally, he was confident. Many white clouds were like silk. Dongbua Shuang walked out from the distorted void. He stood above the cloud layer and looked down at the vast continuous mountain range. Song Mountain Range. Dongbua Shuang muttered. He has hidden himself really deeply. A devil like Monarch Chi, who is actually able to endure and not kill. Instead, he chose to remain low profile and hibernate. That is really mysterious. Unless he was captured by the Jiezu sect for interrogation, and that frightened him? To this he did not believe it at all. Such a great devil who cultivated his heart realm would definitely not be low. His devilish nature was deeply planted, and his heart realm was at least at the heart like a blade level. It was impossible for his nature to change easily. Dongbua Shuang reckoned that Monarch Chi, who should be temporarily enduring for a period of time. The longer he endured, the more violent the devilish nature in his heart would become. Eventually, he would not be able to resist killing again. But he had guessed wrongly. This time, Monarch Qi who was not forcing himself. Instead, he was passionately immersed in comprehending the stone mirror. According to the intelligence from the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion, the location of Monarch Qi whose palace should be there. Dongbo Shuang took a step. Shwa shwa shwa. He teleported deep into the Tsongtsong mountain range. Looking down, deep within the mountain, there was a huge jade-like lake. Surrounding the lake were trees and flowers. It was beautiful, and there were no signs of humans. Wang. A fiery red imprint of cinnabar appeared on Dongbo Ying's forehead. Behind him, a fiery red divine bird cinnabar appeared. Cinnabar flapped its wings slowly, causing a fiery red aura to spread out in all directions. At the same time, Dongbo Ying's soul aura also spread out. Cinnabar's illusory art. There was a red aura that could be seen by the naked eye, and there were also soul ripples that could not be detected. The soul ripples instantly penetrated through the layers of arrays hidden below. Although the arrays were powerful, they were unable to obstruct soul attacks. An illusory realm was clearly a soul attack. A large number of subordinates within the hidden palace revealed muddle-headed expressions. They were completely swept into the illusory realm. Dongbo Ying had raised Cinnabar's illusory realm to the 6th floor of Star Tower. Even the inner hall elders of the Great Void Heaven Temple would be affected, let alone these subordinates. Chapter 9:11. Not only the group of servants, even Monarch Qi, who was in the small courtyard, was affected. Behind Dongbo Ying, the massive cinnabar god bird flapped its wings. At this moment, there was no one controlling the defensive arrays of the palace. Even Monarch Qi, who was resisting against the illusions, and was unable to divert his attention to control any arrays. Dongbo Ying was able to easily control the void and dispel these arrays. The palace also appeared from nothingness. Dongbo Ying stepped on the void. With just a single step, he arrived in front of Monarch Qi, who was in a small courtyard in the depths of the palace. Damn it, break for me, break for me. At this moment, Monarch Qi felt very uncomfortable. The sudden descent of the illusions forcefully pulled him into an illusory world. He had the feeling of having nightmares when he was young. He forcefully opened his eyes, but very quickly, he sank back into the nightmare. Struggling, sinking, struggling. These were the experiences he had when he was young. However, the feeling he had now was very similar. Monarch Qi, whose temperament and the strength of his soul was much stronger than Black Chief Devil. When he encountered the illusions, he did not sink into them completely. Instead, he was very clear that it was an illusion. That was why he tried his best to break the illusions. Indeed, he had also broken through the illusions and could vaguely sense the surrounding courtyard. However, he soon sank into the illusions again. He tried his best to break through the illusions. Just as he barely managed to do so, the illusions would attack him again and again. This feeling was extremely terrible. The fiery red air current permeated the courtyard and affected Monarch Qi. It kept pulling him into the illusions again and again. This was the power of Cinnabar's illusions. Cinnabar's illusory realm was different from the system of laws and profound mysteries. Cinnabar's illusory realm was carried along naturally. There was no need for Dongbo Ying to control it. It was accompanied by a tempting aura, and would attack the enemy countless times. Even if the enemy did not fall into the illusory realm, they would still be affected. Even if Monarch Qi, whose mental state had reached a higher level of my heart is the world, and did not fall into it, he would still be affected by it. Even if Monarch Qi, whose mental state had reached a higher level, my heart of the world, and he did not fall into it, he would only be able to unleash 50 to 60% of his mental state. Furthermore, Monarch Qi, whose mental state was only at the level of heart-like blade. He was constantly struggling to break free from the illusion, and was trapped in it. He could barely sense that there was an enemy in the courtyard. The white-robed young man, Dongbo Ying. However, the scene in the courtyard and the scene in the illusion were starting to mix up. No, how could it be like this? How could it be like this? Monarch Qi felt terrible, and his heart was ice-cold. He knew that he was facing an unprecedented danger. In the past, when faced with danger, he could still use his strength to resist and escape. But at this moment, He was constantly fighting against the illusion and had no way to deal with the enemy. Is it Dongbo Shuang? How did he become so strong? Monarch Qi, who did not dare believe it. The previous time we fought, he did not have such a terrifying illusory realm technique. Within the courtyard, Dongbo Shuang watched as Monarch Qi, whose body trembled. He could not help but sigh inwardly. Illusory realm techniques are sometimes weak, and sometimes very strong. Against cultivators with a weaker mental state, the illusory realm was extremely effective. It was much better than fighting head-on. But against those with a stronger mental state, it was still lacking. And the Cinnabar illusory realm was an ancient cultivation technique that was much stronger than simply using an illusory realm. It could forcefully pull the enemy into the illusory realm many times, affecting the enemy's strength. Hence, just this technique alone was qualified to reach the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. Even those who could maintain their consciousness would have to divert a large portion of their heart force to resist against the illusory realm. Fighting head-on, their strength would naturally decline. Monarch Qi, who, however, is unable to resist at all. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. Spare. Monarch Qi, who could barely shout out. He could not even open his eyes. Clearly he was still struggling against the illusory realm. Descend. Dongbo Shuang did not show any mercy. If it were an ordinary cultivator, he would not have agreed to the deal in the past. It was precisely because the two experts from Chief Devil Cliff were infamous devils in the myriad ancient sacred world that he agreed to the deal. Killing these devils was equivalent to saving the weaker ones. The rules of the Great Void Heaven Temple supported the disciples in killing devils. It was just that the other holy grounds did not dare to wantonly kill devils in the region governed by Jiezu, in the myriad ancient sacred world. For people like Dongbo Shuang, who had his own will and personal disputes, it was not considered much. If it was the Great Void Heaven Temple that led this, and a large number of experts came to kill the devils in the myriad ancient sacred world, it would naturally infuriate Jiezu. Multi-layered dark world. A dark world descended and enveloped the trembling Monarch Qi, who, from the illusory realm to the real world, it instantly caused a surging wave of heaven and earth energy, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to tremble. The membrane of this dark world actually had a shocking total of 2,500 layers. If the power of 600 layers of the world of darkness was close to that of the sky punishment edge, then the power of 2,500 layers of the world of darkness was far beyond that of a single sky punishment edge. The reason why Dongbo Shuang executed the multi-layered dark world was because the might of this move was concentrated within the dark world. It would not affect the surroundings. If he unleashed the sky punishment edge wantonly, it would cause too much destruction to the surroundings. Although there were many servants in the palace, they were all subordinates that Monarch Qi who had forcefully captured. They were all weaklings, and there was no need to affect them. When he executed Cinnabar's illusory realm, the 2,500 layers of dark world was Dongbo Shuaying's limit. This rapidly shrunk dark world enveloped Monarch Qi who, following an explosion, everything within the dark world was destroyed. Monarch Qi whose body also turned into water. Everything returned to silence. However, Monarch Qi who was distorting the water, gradually regained his human form. However, his aura was clearly much weaker. Back then, although he was able to withstand 3 sky punishment edges, firstly, the sky punishment edges attacked separately. This time, the might of the multi-layered dark world far surpassed the sky punishment edges. Secondly, back then, he was able to divert the force of the attack. But now, his heart force was affected by the illusory realm. He could only rely on his body to defend against the attack. Naturally, he was heavily injured with just a single strike. No, I am not willing. Monarch Qi who muttered. His eyes were still unable to open. Dongbo Shuang once again descended upon the multi-layered dark world. Once, twice, thrice. Each time, he unleashed a total of 2,500 layers of dark world. After unleashing it 5 times, Monarch Qi whose body was finally completely destroyed. What a powerful body. If there wasn't an illusory realm, he would be able to unleash his full strength. Even if he just stood there and allowed me to attack him, As long as he diverted the force, he would still be able to resist for tens of times. Dongbua Shueying was speechless. If he was unable to control his body, and could only rely on his body to resist, he would most likely be destroyed in a single strike. South Dongbua Shueying waved his hand, and all the treasures left behind by Monarch Qi, who landed in his hands. His gaze involuntarily landed on one of the stone mirrors. When he was trapped in the illusory realm, Monarch Qi who was still holding onto this stone mirror. Stone mirror? Dongbua Shueying could faintly sense something special about it. He couldn't help but take a closer look. Myriad ancient sacred world Jiezu Palace. Its location was very mysterious. Without any guidance, it was impossible to find it. Within Jiezu Palace, two figures were currently standing there. One was the Black Emperor, and the other was a skinny man dressed in dark green robes. His eyes were filled with innocence, and his mouth was very big. When he smiled, it was exceptionally radiant and comical. But no one would find him interesting, because he was in existence in the 5 great sacred worlds and primal chaos void that countless cultivators looked up to. He was in existence whose strength was second only to the sacred master. He did not have as many techniques as Wuxia, and neither did he dare to hide in his territory, like the ancestor mother. He was someone who dared to fight head-on with the sacred master. The strength of his body had reached an unfathomable stage. He was Jiezu, an existence who had spread the Devour class cultivation system. Countless devils had wantonly devoured life forms all because of this Devour class cultivation system. But no one had ever dared to criticize Jiezu because of this. Those who criticized Jiezu would all suffer the brutal pursuit of Jiezu. Interesting. The skinny Jiezu laughed. His voice was ear-piercing. The space in front of him distorted, revealing the scene of Dongbua Shueying inspecting the stone mirror. Such a coincidence. The Black Emperor was slightly startled. He then laughed. Senior disciple brother. It seems that this brat Dongbua is fated with our lineage. He cultivated the inheritance that I left behind, and now, he has obtained this treasure that you left behind. If the outside world knew of their conversation, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Because in the outside world, the Black Emperor had never called Jiezu senior disciple brother. After landing in his hands, let's see what this brat can do in the future. The skinny Jiezu chuckled. This treasure, it had many names. Stone heart, broken shield, scale, ancient armor. These names were ordinary, but in reality, it had appeared in the hands of many experts of the ancient cultivation system. They had discovered the uniqueness of this treasure, and its reputation gradually grew. It had even caused a bloodbath to occur. After that, Jiezu would quietly bring the treasure away, changing its appearance before sending it to other ancient cultivators. After a period of time, the appearance of the treasure would change. This time, this treasure had changed into the appearance of a stone mirror. It had only been passed to the hands of 5 Unity Realm experts. Thus, its reputation wasn't that great. Thus, it ended up in the hands of Dongbua Shueying. Our lineage is divided into 2 branches. With the inheritance of my branch, and the treasure you passed down to him, senior apprentice brother, with his comprehension ability, he will definitely be able to walk further and further on the path of ancient cultivation. The Black Emperor smiled. Perhaps he has the qualifications to join our branch. Who knows how long this treasure of mine had been passed down. In our lineage, including little junior disciple brother, there are only 3 of us. The skinny Jiezu sneered. With just this brat? That is hard to say. The Black Emperor was delighted. The skinny Jiezu sneered and shook his head. With a wave of his hand, the scene in front of him disappeared. End of this chapter. ****. Chapter 912. Lansong Mountain Range, within Monarch Chihu's palace. A large number of servants gradually woke up. Some of them were lying on the ground, while some were leaning against the wall. When they woke up, all of them were so frightened that they stood up. Because the rules of the palace were very strict, they had actually fallen asleep on the ground. According to the rules of the palace, they would be punished to death. All of them were feeling uneasy. The array of the palace is gone. All the arrays are gone. The servants soon discovered the changes. All the powerful arrays around the palace had disappeared. Even the defensive arrays around the palace had disappeared. What is going on? Why are all the arrays gone? I was in charge of controlling the alarm arrays, but I can't even find the array plate. Many servants were puzzled as they transmitted messages to each other. Just now I suddenly fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw that many people had fallen asleep. You fell asleep as well? Me too. As they transmitted messages to each other, they were shocked to discover that not long ago, all of them had actually fallen asleep. The main reason was that their realms were too low. They could not even recall their memories of falling into the illusion. Suddenly, a voice reverberated throughout the entire palace. The master of this palace, Monarch Chihu, has died. From today onwards, all of you have regained your freedom. A cold voice continued to reverberate, causing all the servants to be startled, following which, they became wild with joy, because they were clear that if their master was still alive, it was impossible for him to allow the mysterious expert's voice to reverberate throughout the palace without any reaction. We are free. The guards at the outermost perimeter could not help but try to fly out. In the past, there were arrays around the palace, and they could not escape. But now they were flying out without any obstruction. Ha ha ha. We have left. We can leave now. Finally, we have regained our freedom. All the servants in the palace were extremely excited. Some even knelt down and wailed. Because ever since they were captured, the past few million years had been a nightmare. They were captured and had to carefully serve Monarch Chihu. Because Monarch Chihu had been living in seclusion, he did not go out to slaughter and devour. Once he could not endure it, he would devour the servants. There was no light, no hope, and occasionally, his companions would be eaten. Monarch Chihu's terrifying strength caused all the servants to not have any thoughts of resisting. They could only endure in sorrow, and hope that they would not be the unlucky one being eaten. After all, Monarch Chihu still needed a group of subordinates to serve him. It was impossible for him to eat them all. Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior, for saving us. Many attendants couldn't help but shout. I will definitely remember this great kindness. I will never forget it. Some of them silently made up their minds, and quickly scattered in all directions. The further they escaped, the better. They were afraid of being caught again. In the clouds in the distance, Dongbo Shuang looked down at the palace, and saw the servants flying away in all directions. He couldn't help but smile. It felt good to save people. My heart is the heart of the heavens. Many ancient and powerful cultivators, when they reached this mental realm, could all be called my heart is the heavens. But what they comprehended was different. For instance, Sacred Master, my heart is the heart of the heavens. He treated all living beings as dogs. Many living beings had to submit to him, and were willing to die for him. His gaze was the greatest glory for these subordinates. Even primal chaos realm giants and cosmos gods had to submit to him. They had to submit to him from the essence of their souls. For instance, Wu Zhu, my heart is the heart of the heavens. The heart of the world transcended everything. He controlled the operation of the primitive ancient sacred world, and the operation of the primal chaos void. What he pursued was a supreme transcendence. On this Tao path of transcendence, everything was his tool. Hence, he dissected and researched the myriad existences, making use of everything he could to step on a Tao path that belonged to him. As for Forefather Tianyu, Jade Light Master, Void Primogenitor, and others, they harbored compassionate hearts. The Void Walker inheritance passed down by Void Primogenitor had a strict requirement for the cultivator's heart temperament. It was the same for Dongbo Shuang. Strictly speaking, of the 5 great sacred worlds, the ancient sacred world and ancestor mother world belonged to 2 great religions. Sacred Master and Ancestor Mother were more similar, just that Sacred Master was much stronger. Jiezu and Wu Zhu from the myriad ancient sacred world were similar. They cared about themselves. They coldly looked down on the lives of other living beings. As for the 7-star Oceanic Sacred World and Eastern Unicorn Sacred World, they placed great importance on the lives of the weaker beings. They tried their best to protect the weaker beings, allowing them to grow. Those who dared to kill wantonly would be chased down by experts. Hence, Lord Locheng stood on the side of these two sacred worlds. The 6-star pagodas he refined painstakingly were given to the 6 great holy grounds of these two sacred worlds. Naturally, Ancestor Bone did not have the heart to pity the weak. Ancestor Bone's heart temperament was slightly more unique in the 7-star Oceanic Sacred World and Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. Naturally, he was ostracized. Ancestor Bone was actually not too willing to rely on the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. It was a pity that he was too weak. He was at the bottom of the 3rd level of final realm existences. Myriad ancient sacred worlds Jiezu and Wuzhu did not even care about him. It was only because of Yuan that Lord Locheng was willing to take him in, allowing him to stay in the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. On the beach, Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged. He was currently holding on to the stone mirror. This stone mirror is actually so mystical. Dongbua Shuang did not expect that killing Monarch Qi, who would give him such a huge harvest. This was like a mirror polished from an ancient stone. Even the reflection of one's appearance was very blurry. However, it was so mystical that it shocked Dongbua Shuang the moment he received it. He immediately left the Tsongsong mountain range and came to a faraway beach. He then began to investigate it carefully. On the stone mirror, there were densely packed rainbow-colored patterns appearing. On the left, the patterns formed a rainbow-colored flower. On the right, the pattern formed a war flag, following which, the flower and the war flag gradually converged. At the center of the stone mirror, they began to fuse together, and finally, they transformed into a sinister black flower. This is too mystical. Dongbua Shuang lowered his head and looked at it. The more he looked, the more infatuated he became. That rainbow-colored flower was constantly evolving according to his current realm of the Cinnabar inheritance. Finally it took form. It was definitely considered as a profound primal chaos realm. That war flag was evolving according to the Imperial Dragon inheritance. It had also evolved to the primal chaos realm. This evolution process was actually a gradual process that allowed him to understand it better. And at the intersection of the two, it was the fusion of two ancient cultivation inheritances. By fusing the two inheritances that had reached the primal chaos realm into one, it would transform into an even stronger ancient cultivation inheritance. I cultivate these two ancient cultivation inheritances, and it will guide me to cultivate these two inheritances? Furthermore, it will fuse them together? Dongbua Shuang was startled. If I were to be like the Black Emperor and cultivate 4 inheritances, wouldn't it be able to deduce all 4 inheritances and help me fuse them together? However, it seems to only be able to guide the ancient cultivation. Dongbua Shuang discovered it too. Currently, he was cultivating 3 great systems: the Laws and Profound Mysteries system, the Voidwalker system, and the Ancient Cultivation system. As for this mysterious stone mirror, it was only able to deduce and guide the Ancient Cultivation system. Fortunately, the 2 ancient cultivation inheritances I chose corresponded to the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter respectively. As I gradually delved deeper into these 2 ancient cultivation systems, it allowed me to have a deeper understanding of the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter. Dongbua Shuang was after all a great expert, whose strength was close to the 7th floor of Star Tower. Naturally, he had a clearer understanding of the primal chaos realm. And now the stone mirror was gradually guiding them. It was just like a street lamp that illuminated this path. Now that I have such a huge help in reaching the primal chaos realm, it will be much easier for me. Dongbua Shuang revealed a grin. Naturally, it was only in the Tao of Mirage. He had yet to touch the primal chaos realm in the Tao of Slaughter. Even if he were to observe the guidance of the stone mirror, it would take a long time. Even though the stone mirror was mystical, it was merely a guide. If one's foundation was not strong enough, it would be useless. Even if it is just guidance, it is already extremely mystical. There are even some incomplete ancient cultivation techniques that, with its guidance, can be completed, and even new ancient cultivation techniques can be created. Shuang thought, such a mystical treasure. But why haven't I heard of it before? Why isn't it famous? ***. Chapter 913. But Dongbo Shuiying was wrong. The stone mirror had appeared in all sorts of forms over the long years. It landed in the hands of many ancient cultivators, causing many bloody storms. Once its fame was too great, or it stayed in the hands of an ancient cultivator for too long, Jiezu would use some methods in the dark to make the stone mirror disappear silently, allowing other ancient cultivators to obtain it. During this transmission, many ancient cultivator inheritances were created by relying on the stone mirror. There were many ancient cultivators who obtained the stone mirror. For instance, more than half of the primal chaos ancient cultivators in the myriad ancient sacred world had obtained it before. The primal chaos ancient cultivators outside the myriad ancient sacred world had obtained much less, at most 10%. Even so, the transmission rate of the stone mirror was terrifying. No matter what, I have to grab hold of this rare opportunity and properly raise my strength. If I can step into the primal chaos realm as soon as possible, that would be for the best. Dongbo Shuiying was looking forward to stepping into the primal chaos realm. The moment he did so, his body and soul would undergo a qualitative transformation. Like his current strength, he could fight against some of the weaker primal chaos experts, but he was still lacking in many aspects. The soul of a primal chaos giant was far stronger than his. Hence, their true bodies were in a sacred world, and they could even send their incarnations to another sacred world. As a Unity Realm expert, Dongbo Shuiying's incarnations could not be too far away from his true body. Once the distance reached a certain extent, his willpower would no longer be able to maintain it, and his incarnation would collapse. This could be seen from the distance of the incarnations. For instance, Ancestor Devil. His true body was in the Great Void Heaven Temple. In the past, when Dongbo Shuiying attacked the base of the ancient sacred religion, he sent an incarnation of Ancestor Devil down with a single voice transmission. This distance was close to 10% to 20% of the diameter of a sacred world. No matter how strong a Unity Realm expert was, it was impossible for him to send his incarnation over such a long distance. He could not even reach 1/1000th of the distance. This was a qualitative transformation. The soul had a qualitative transformation, and so did his body. Dongbo Shuiying was looking forward to this qualitative transformation. Walking in the myriad ancient sacred world, looking at the dark canyon that spanned billions of miles, stepping over the vast ice lake, and passing through the flaming divine mountain. After experiencing all sorts of strange places, seeing the natural manifestation of the operating rules, and comprehending the guidance of the stone mirror, Dongbo Shuiying's cultivation level was also slowly increasing. He had long since simplified the fifth apocalyptic sword, and after cultivating the Imperial Dragon inheritance, with the guidance of the stone mirror, Dongbo Shuiying's first breakthrough was the Tao of Massacre, and he had finally grasped the sixth apocalyptic sword. Of course, because he had long since grasped Sky Punishment Edge and learned the Armageddon sixth sword, it did not help him in terms of offense, but it made his close quarters combat much stronger. Imperial Dragon's inheritance also used this to evolve to the point where it could rival Cinnabar's inheritance, causing Dongbo Shuiying's body to become even stronger. The defense of the scales on his body was even more impressive, and his palms were also abnormally terrifying. I've made up for my weaknesses and made up for them. Dongbo Shuiying was quite happy. He was in no hurry. The apocalyptic sixth sword had always been the last step, so it was naturally easier for him to break through, and it was much harder to step into the primal chaos realm. But he had touched upon the primal chaos realm in both the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter, with his accumulations in the Tao of Mirage being more profound. Within a vast desert in the myriad ancient sacred world, there was an oasis that was emitting vitality. There was a relatively flourishing tribe living on this oasis. The tribe had a population of several 100,000 people, and amongst them were weak children. They were transcendents since birth, but under the suppression of the laws of the sacred world, their running speed was not fast. At the same time, they were practically the weakest life forms in the sacred world, and had to rely on a group to survive. Maybe there might be an ultra-strong expert emerging from them in the future, but at least for now, these children required the protection of the tribe. Within the tribe, There were powerful warriors, and the highest leader of the tribe was even an expert at the Void God Unity realm. He had painstakingly constructed all sorts of arrays around the tribe, allowing the tribe to flourish until now. Hua! A huge crimson ship appeared in the sky above the tribe from nothingness. Many figures immediately flew out from the ship. Almost all of them were wearing black robes. Only the thin old man leading them was wearing a crimson robe. His eyes were faintly burning with a cold flame. Those who were stared at by him would feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. Move! Hurry up! The crimson-robed old man coldly ordered. Yes. The group of black-robed subordinates were all at the Unity realm. Their figures flashed before dispersing around the tribe. All of them took out a piece of black talisman. For a moment, all 12 of these black talismans were activated. Hong! A terrifying array was activated by the 12 talismans, causing rolling black clouds to appear in the sky above the tribe. The black clouds covered the sky, causing the people in the tribe to feel uneasy. Mother, what happened? A child hid in the bosom of his mother in fear. His mother was a world deity. She looked at the black clouds forming in the sky nervously. Rest assured. Everything will be fine. The patriarch and the others will protect us. The patriarch, who was like a guardian god in the eyes of the entire tribe, felt uneasy at this moment. He had long controlled the entire tribe's array to deal with the intruders. However, the other party's actions were too fast, and the rolling black clouds had appeared almost instantly. I wonder which senior it is. Feel free to instruct us. We will naturally not dare to disobey. The patriarch said loudly. His voice passed through the tribe's array and was transmitted to the outside world. I want all of you to die. Will you not disobey? A cold voice reverberated in the world. The patriarch was stunned. Countless people in the tribe felt their hearts trembling. A group of ants. The cold voice was filled with disdain. Hong! The rolling black clouds in the sky suddenly descended. The tribe's array was simply a joke. The rolling black clouds were like an illusion, as they easily passed through the array and enveloped the entire tribe. They invaded the bodies of every single person in the tribe, from the only Unity Realm expert to the infants who were just born not too long ago. Everyone was permeated by the black clouds. I can't move. Why can't I move? Everyone in the tribe discovered this point in shock. The energy within their bodies had been sealed, and even their bodies seemed to be affected. Even though their ears could hear, their eyes could see, and their mouths could move, their bodies could not move. Following that, the rolling black clouds dissipated. The 12 black-robed men in the sky gathered together. They respectfully reported to that crimson-robed old man. Sir, all of them have been captured alive. Amen. The crimson-robed old man had a wizened face that looked like a skeleton. He looked downwards and nonchalantly said, This time we have captured enough. Palace Master requires 300,000 experimental bodies. You guys can pick according to his requirements. As for the remaining ones, lock them up for me. I hope that these remaining experimental bodies can aid me in cultivating the secret technique. Sir, you will definitely succeed. Sir, why don't I go and capture more experimental bodies? The more experimental bodies the better. A black-robed man fawned on the other party. The crimson-robed old man glanced at him before revealing a smile. It's just that his smile was frightening. I'll bring back the experimental bodies of this tribe first. You bring 2 more people to capture more experimental bodies. Yes. They did not restrain themselves in their conversation. Instead, they were speaking openly. Even though the people in the tribe could not move, there were still some void god experts amongst them. Their hearing was extremely good, and they could clearly hear the conversation. When they heard about experimental bodies, their expressions changed. It's the hex cultivators. Furthermore, they are wicked hex cultivators. They want to capture us to conduct all sorts of wicked experiments. The experts in the tribe were all horrified. They would rather be killed by themselves than to be experimented on by those wicked hex cultivators. The hex cultivators researched the myriad existences, and naturally, they would research on the body and soul. Some wicked cultivators had even treated mini cultivators as experimental materials. We're finished. The tribe is finished. The experts in the tribe who could hear the conversation in the sky felt their hearts trembling in pain. They were furious and in despair. They wished they could risk their lives, yet the gap in strength prevented them from doing so. Hex cultivators? A cold voice sounded. A white-robed young man appeared. His face was filled with anger. He looked at the people in the tribe who had been struck by the secret technique, and the black-robed man, and the crimson-robed old man in the sky. Who are you? The crimson-robed old man looked at Dongbo Shuiying with his cold eyes. He coldly said, "Who is your palace master? I wish to know which hex cultivator is so vicious." Dongbo Shuiying said. He had a good impression of the hex cultivators, because his wife and his teacher Bloodblade cultivated in the hex cultivator as well. The crimson-robed old man laughed when he saw this. "It seems we have met someone who wants to save the weak. Since that's the case, we'll capture him and offer him to Palace Master. An experimental body at the Unity Realm is not bad." "Yes." The 12 black-robed men immediately acknowledged. Hung. Dongbo Shuiying abruptly unleashed the plate ripple diagram domain, causing ripples to invade into every black-robed man. These black-robed men were the lowest rung runners. They were merely at the first or second level Star Pagoda strength. They were only powerful by relying on the talisman given by Palace Master. And that crimson-robed old man was considered an expert. He was at the third level Star Pagoda strength. But under the entanglement of the ripple strands, all of them were completely restrained and suppressed. The expression of the crimson-robed old man changed. He tried his best to struggle, yet he could not break free. Dongbo Shuiying coldly looked at him. The 12 black-robed men and the crimson-robed old man were all restrained. The crimson-robed old man roared, "You have created a huge calamity. Do you know who you have offended?" "Ah, created a huge calamity?" Dongbo Shuiying watched calmly. His current strength was close to the 7th floor of Star Tower. Even if terrifying existences like Primal Chaos Hall Master or Black Emperor acted with their true bodies, relying on the treasures worth several thousand Origin World rocks given by Forefather Tianyu, they could still survive for a moment or two. By then, Dongbo Shuiying could rely on ultra-long distance teleportation to escape, and if it was not at the level of Black Emperor, Dongbo Shuiying did not have to worry. Dongbo Shuiying did not believe that it was a cosmos god, because there were only 2 cosmos gods in the entire myriad ancient sacred world, Wuxia and Jiezu. "You are courting death." The crimson-robed old man became even crazier. He roared, "Hurry up and let us go. I've already reported this to Palace Master. When Palace Master arrives, it will be too late for you to regret. By then, you will neither live nor die." "Oh, your Palace Master is quite capable to make me live and die," Dongbo Shuiying sneered. Chapter 914. Hurry up and let us go. It's not too late to escape now or else. The red-robed old man wanted to threaten him, but his eyes widened, and he was unable to say a single word. Dongbo Shuiying glanced at him coldly. He had already sealed their strength, so it was easy for him to make them speechless. Based on his temper, he would have long killed these devils who wanted to take countless lives. In order to please this red-robed old man, these black-robed men even took the initiative to capture a large number of innocent and weak people. All of them deserved to die. However, he was not in a hurry to kill them. He still needed them to lure the palace lord behind them. "I do want to see who you are." With a thought, Dongbo Shuiying lured the 12 black-robed men into an illusory world and easily led them to reveal the identity of the palace lord behind them. Because this was not a very important secret, the palace lord did not set up any restrictions, and the black-robed men obediently revealed everything in the illusory world. "So it's him?" Dongbo Shuiying snorted coldly. "He is truly an expert." A moment later, the 12 black-robed men and the red-robed old man were unable to move, and they fell to the ground. All the items that they brought with them were forcefully taken away, including their storage treasures. Seeing this, the red-robed old man was infuriated, but he could not say anything. He could only think to himself, when the palace lord arrives, he will spit out everything he took, and even his body will be buried with him. Dongbo Shuiying waved his hand, and some of the storage treasures were forcefully refined, following which many black tokens flew out. 12 tokens. Dombo Shuang nodded. Hundreds of thousands of tribesmen had fallen into the trap, and all of their souls had been invaded by the black fog. Normally, he would have to painstakingly expel the black fog from their souls, and that would require him to be extremely meticulous. Furthermore, how long would it take for hundreds of thousands of tribesmen to do so? With a single look, he knew that these 12 black-robed men had a way to control the black fog. Shaman cultivators, they sure have a lot of strange methods. Dombo Shuang split his attention into 12 and controlled 12 black tokens at the same time. Boom! The 12 black tokens hovering in front of him immediately activated the formation, resonating with the black mist in the bodies of the hundreds of thousands of people who were unable to move. All of you come out. With a thought from Ying, strands of black fog flew out from the surface of every single one of his subjects. The black fog condensed into a vast black cloud. Following that, this vast black cloud dissipated in midair. I can move. I can move. One by one, the citizens began to stand up. Some of the children and youths even crawled up with a grunt. Countless people in the tribe were filled with excitement, but they still looked nervously at Dombo Shuang from afar. They had witnessed everything that had happened, and they knew that this white-robed young man had saved them. However, they had also heard the crazed cries of the red-robed old man. Clearly, there was an extremely powerful expert behind the red-robed old man. So south. A dozen figures flew over and landed in front of Dombo Shuang, bowing respectfully. Senior has saved our entire tribe. We don't know how to repay such a great favor. The leader of the tribe had tears in his eyes. He didn't dare to imagine that if it wasn't for the appearance of this white-robed young man, all of his tribesmen would have become the experimental subjects of the evil shaman cultivators. How terrifying would that be? Every single one of them would be experimented on, and if they didn't die, they would be subjected to all sorts of experiments. It would be much more painful than being killed. Dombo Shuang smiled calmly. It's nothing much. Since he was strong, he had to bear the responsibility. To him, it was nothing much, but to the entire tribe, he had saved them from a calamity. The more people he saved, the more Dombo Shuang understood this point. That senior saved our entire tribe. That's right. If it wasn't for that senior, our tribe would be finished. From afar, a young man was asking his mother. The young man was looking at Dombo Shuang anxiously, but there was also a look of admiration in his eyes. Such a scene was happening in many places within the tribe. At this moment, many children and teenagers were looking at the white-robed young man with incomparable admiration. In the long years to come, they would never forget this expert who had saved their tribe. They all looked forward to the day when they could become experts as well, and have the qualifications to stand in front of the savior of their entire tribe. That would be an endless glory for them. These little fellows. Dombo Shuang smiled. Those adults with some experience didn't even dare to look him in the eye, afraid that they would offend Dombo Shuang. As for those children and teenagers, they didn't really understand. Senior. The leader looked at the red-robed old man and the 12 black-robed men who were lying on the ground, unable to resist. He hurriedly said, "There seems to be an extremely powerful expert behind these evil shaman cultivators. Senior, you have to be careful." "Don't worry," Dombo Shuang instructed. "I'm confident. Also, you had better hurry and migrate your entire tribe. I'm afraid that the person behind them wouldn't dare to appear, and would vent his anger on you after I leave." Yes. The leader was startled. He knew that this place would soon turn into a battlefield. He did not dare to let his tribe continue staying here. He hurriedly said, "Senior, you have to be careful. Shaman cultivators have many techniques, and it is hard to guard against them. The few of us will be thick-skinned and leave first. Go." Dombo Shuang nodded. The migration of a cultivator tribe was extremely fast. They directly kept a large number of tribesmen into their Eden treasure, before following the patriarch to teleport away. Strictly speaking, the Eden treasure was considered safe, but it was ultimately a small world that was opened, and the aid it provided to cultivators was far from comparable to a cosmos, much less compared to the sacred world. It was not bad for a world deity to emerge within the Eden world. As for a true god, it was practically impossible. To the sacred world, true gods were everywhere, and void gods could barely be considered experts. In the desert oasis, the tribesmen were no longer around. Dongbo Shuang sat cross-legged by himself. The 12 black-robed men, and the red-robed old man by his side could not move at all. "He's here." Dongbo Shuang opened his eyes and looked into the distance. Hong Long, a primal chaos flying ship, flew out from the spatial tunnel. Following that, a cabin door appeared on the smooth exterior of the primal chaos flying ship. 2 figures flew out at the same time. One of them was a cold male wearing a gray robe. His body was emitting a wicked aura uncontrollably. His eyes stared at Dongbo Shuang from afar, and it felt as if there was a horrifying monster hiding in his eyes as he peered at Dongbo Shuang. This kind of wicked hex cultivator has completely altered his body and soul. He is quite strong, Dongbo Shuang thought. This cold male was called Wicked-Eyed Palace Master. He was at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength, and he was one of the strongest. Being a wicked hex cultivator, he researched on the body and soul, and had even altered his body and soul. He was incredibly hard to deal with. Even if the 2 commanders of Chief Devil Cliff worked together, they would not be as hard to deal with as this person. But Dongbo Shuang did not place him in his eyes. Of the 2 commanders of Chief Devil Cliff, Monarch Chi Hu, who was extremely strong in survivability, could not even resist against him. This person by the side, Dongbo Shuang saw an old man who walked out with the gray-robed cold male. This white-haired old man had a gentle expression. He was dressed in a simple robe, and his aura was completely concealed. Dongbo Shuang was observing these 2, and the 2 of them were similarly observing Dongbo Shuang. Their intelligence network was much higher than that of their subordinates, and they were able to recognize Dongbo Shuang with a single glance. Great Void Heaven Temple's Dongbo Shuang. The white-haired simple old man said. Junior disciple brother. It's said that his strength has reached the level of the 6th floor of Star Tower, and he specializes in the Sky Punishment Edge of Dark World Master. Senior disciple brother Lei. Wicked-Eyed Palace Master humbly said, battles don't depend on one's strongest side. Instead, one has to look at one's weakness. This Dongbo Shuang has merely learned the absolute art of Dark World Master, and he can naturally win against a fool like Black Chief Devil. But in front of me, humph. Senior disciple brother Lei can wait for a moment. Since he dares to spoil my plans, I will naturally teach him a lesson. Chapter 9:15. The crimson-robed old man, and the 12 black-robed men, who were lying on the ground, were anxiously waiting for their palace master to save them before making this white-robed expert regret and beg for mercy. Dongbo Shuang. Wicked-Eyed Palace Master stepped on the void and looked at Dongbo Shuang from afar. The wicked aura on the surface of his body was surging and spreading in all directions. This is the myriad ancient sacred world. You are just from the 7-star oceanic sacred world, yet you dare to be so unbridled in the myriad ancient sacred world. You dare to spoil my plans? You are quite daring. The myriad ancient sacred world is split into 2. This is the Jiezu domain, and not the Wuzhu domain. You aren't qualified to say these, right? Dongbo Shuang shook his head. Do you think you are unbridled just because you are an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple, and I don't dare to kill you? Wicked-Eyed Palace Master sneered. Right, I won't kill you. But even though you can avoid death, you can't escape punishment. I'll snatch away all your treasures, and let you have a taste of some punishments that I researched. Finally, I'll send you back to the Great Void Heaven Temple in perfect condition. I believe the Great Void Heaven Temple will have nothing to say. You are very confident. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Then let me see if you have the strength to do so. Oh, I'll eliminate them first. Since you are here, it's pointless for them to stay. The moment he finished speaking, Pu, the crimson-robed old man, and the 12 black-robed men widened their eyes in terror. Following that, their auras dimmed, their sealed souls had been extinguished, and even their bodies had turned into nothingness under the power of the plate ripple diagram. The pupils of Wicked-Eyed Palace Master dilated when he saw this. His expression became much more savage. He stared at Dongbui Shuiying and grinned. Very good, very good. A young brat who has merely learned the absolute art of Dark World Master dares to be so arrogant in front of me. I'll let you know that the hex cultivation isn't something those destruction devils from the Star Pagoda can compare with. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The eyes of the Wicked-Eyed Palace Master suddenly erupted with a terrifying pressure, and two black streams of air flew out from his eyes. If one looked closely, they would realize that the black streams of air were filled with tiny black beetles. More than 100 black beetles flew out from the Wicked-Eyed Palace Master's eyes, and quickly rushed towards Dongbui Shuiying. Immediately after, the Wicked-Eyed Palace Master's body suddenly expanded by a large margin. He grew a total of 6 arms and his skin turned gray. There were even strange eye patterns on his exposed gray skin. A large number of eye patterns covered his entire body, emitting a large amount of black evil aura that could be seen with the naked eye. Die! Wicked-Eyed Palace Master's body turned into a beam of light as he pounced towards Dongbui Shuiying. Over 100 black insects and the Wicked-Eyed Palace Master, who had transformed into his shaman form, charged towards Dongbui Shuiying at the same time. Seeing this, Dongbui Shuiying just stood there calmly, not putting up any resistance. Wicked-Eyed Palace Master was puzzled. He had already made other preparations to deal with Dongbui Shuiying's moves. Even though he spoke arrogantly, he was still very serious in his heart. After all, Dongbui Shuiying's sky punishment edge was indeed powerful. But Dongbui Shuiying did not put up any resistance, causing Wicked-Eyed Palace Master to feel puzzled. Aren't you too arrogant? Humph. If you don't even use your full strength in battle, it will be easier for me to win. According to the intelligence he had gathered, he already had a detailed plan to defeat Dongbui Shuiying. From how he saw it, even though Dongbui Shuiying's attacks were powerful, he was too young and did not have the time to make up for his weaknesses. Hence, his body was slightly weaker. His weak body was comparable to other experts like Wicked-Eyed Palace Master and Black Chief Devil. In reality, before cultivating the Imperial Dragon inheritance, Dongbui Shuiying had only relied on the Voidwalker system to strengthen his body. This was because once the Voidwalker system reached the Unity Realm, or the Primal Chaos Realm, it would no longer have much of an advantage. The Voidwalker system had a huge advantage in the early stages, but it would not have much of an advantage in the later stages. If one had to talk about an advantage, it would be the voidification and control of the void. It was formidable in terms of survival and escaping, and in terms of body, most would be the ancient cultivators, the strongest warrior system, or the hex cultivation system. They were more proficient in this aspect, and could cultivate their bodies to a terrifying stage. Dongbui Shuiying had cultivated the Imperial Dragon inheritance to the 6th floor of Star Tower. It was fine if his body was greatly strengthened, but the scale armor on his body was even more powerful. It was comparable to a middle-grade Void God weapon. Cinnabar's inheritance focused on the illusory realm and was beneficial to the soul. Imperial Dragon's inheritance focused on slaughter and was beneficial to the fleshy body. He isn't even using his full strength in battle. What a fool! The countless eye diagrams on Wicked-Eyed Palace Master's body began to light up. Suddenly, a resounding cry could be heard. A red stream of air spread out in all directions. Naturally, it enveloped those insects and Wicked-Eyed Palace Master, who were killing their way over. Amen. The white-haired simple-looking old man, who was watching the battle from afar, was startled. He carefully looked over. At this moment, a fiery red bird appeared behind Dongbui Shuiying. It spread its enormous wings, and was emitting a fiery red stream of air. Cinnabar's inheritance? Illusory techniques. The white-haired simple-looking old man relaxed. It was hard for illusory techniques to be heaven-defying. It was even harder to deal against experts at the level of Wicked-Eyed Palace Master. According to what I know, Cinnabar's inheritance is at the Unity Realm. It should barely be able to affect those weaker 5th-level Star Pagoda experts. But the reality was completely different. Wicked-Eyed Palace Master had fallen into an illusory realm. He struggled and struggled out of the illusory realm, before being pulled back in again. Monarch Qi, who could not resist against Dongbua Shuiying's cinnabar illusory realm at all. Wicked-eyed Palace Master did not have any advantage over Monarch Qi, who in terms of the spirit, it was even slightly weaker. He had fallen into an illusory realm, and could not control those venomous insects. Those venomous insects did not have any intelligence, and were completely controlled by him. If they had intelligence, it would be easy for the enemies to target them. Chi. Countless ripple strands immediately bound those venomous insects. At the same time, they bound Wicked-eyed Palace Master. They permeated into the defenseless body of Wicked-eyed Palace Master, sealing his soul. Dongbua Shuiying immediately kept his aura. The god bird behind his back, cinnabar, was also kept into his body. Wicked-eyed Palace Master was directly flung onto the grass by the side by Dongbua Shuiying. He had also woken up. His eyes were wide open in disbelief. Defeated? I was defeated just like that. I still have other techniques that I have yet to display. I have yet to let this Dongbua Shuiying have a taste of my hex poison. And I am defeated? A battle isn't just about looking at one's strongest side. More importantly, one looks at one's weakness. Dongbua Shuiying said, "To me, your spirit is your weakness." Strictly speaking, Wicked-eyed Palace Master's spirit was not considered weak. He was considered average amongst 5th-level Star Pagoda experts. But facing Shuiying, who had an extremely high talent in the Tao of Mirage, and had forcefully pushed the Vermilion Nightmare inheritance to the 6th-level Star Pagoda strength, Shuiying's heart was his weakness if he could not resist against the illusory realm. Illusory realm, it directly targeted the soul. No matter how many techniques you had, how strong your fleshy body was, or how outstanding your killing moves were, if you could not resist against the illusory realm, your life and death would be in the hands of Dongbua Shuiying. Illusory technique? How is this possible? Until now, Wicked-eyed Palace Master did not dare believe that he would be defeated by illusory techniques. Furthermore, the opponent was similarly at the Unity Realm. Admirable. The distant, simple, white-haired old man said, "Cinnabar's inheritance shouldn't be this powerful at the Unity Realm. Yet you could actually improve the power of Cinnabar's inheritance. In terms of illusory techniques, you are currently ranked first amongst Unity Realm experts in the 5 Great Sacred Worlds and Primal Chaos Void. A Unity Realm expert at the 6th floor of Star Tower. It was extremely rare to begin with. Before the rise of Dongbua Shuiying, the Great Void Heaven Temple did not have such experts. Currently, in the 5 Great Sacred Worlds and Primal Chaos Void, there were no more than 10 Unity Realm experts at the 6th floor of Star Tower. Dongbua Shuiying was the only one who had an extremely powerful illusory realm. As the number 1 expert at the Unity Realm in illusory techniques, he was indeed qualified. In front of Thunder Pagoda Master, this little technique isn't worth mentioning. Dongbua Shuiying chuckled. Thunder Pagoda Master. His name was Lei Yin. His fame in the 5 Great Sacred Worlds and Primal Chaos Void was much greater than that of Dongbua Shuiying. In the 3 Great Sacred Worlds, 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World, Eastern Unicorn Sacred World, and Myriad Ancient Sacred World, there were a total of 5 experts at the 6th floor of Star Tower, including Dongbua Shuiying. And Lei Yin was publicly acknowledged as the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 3 Great Sacred Worlds. He had fought with the true body of a primal chaos giant before, and had proven his strength several times in history. This isn't a little technique. Even I couldn't save this junior disciple brother of mine in time. Thunder Pagoda Master shook his head. But my junior disciple brother is also under Wuxia. Elder Dongbua can't kill him. Of course I know that. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. The 3 Great Sacred Worlds had teamed up to deal with the 2 great religions. There was an internal agreement that even if the higher-ups of the 3 Great Sacred Worlds committed a grave mistake, they couldn't be killed directly. Instead, the 2 great superpowers would have to negotiate and decide the punishment. Others wouldn't dare to kill Dongbua Shuiying, and Dongbua Shuiying wouldn't dare to kill Wicked-eyed Palace Master either. If he were to do so, if he were to break the unspoken rules of the 3 Great Sacred Worlds, even the Great Void Heaven Temple wouldn't be able to protect him. and he would have to accompany him in death. Naturally, Dongbo Shuang wouldn't be so foolish. I won't kill him. Just like what he said himself. Dongbo Shuang grinned. He can be spared from death, but he can't escape punishment. I will also strip all of his treasures, and let him taste the punishment of my great void heaven temple's punishment hall. Finally, I will send him back in one piece. Chapter 916. Wicked-eyed palace master, who had his strength sealed, had a change in expression as he furiously said, Dongbo Shuang, don't go overboard. As an expert, he was not afraid of punishment. Witchcraft cultivators would do the same to themselves when they were experimenting, altering their bodies and even their souls. Although he was not afraid of punishment, taking away all his treasures had driven wicked-eyed palace master crazy. As a witchcraft cultivator, he naturally placed great importance on resources. Many of them were accumulated over a long period of time. Once they were taken away, it was as though he had lost half of his life. Dongbo Shuang glanced at him, and was too lazy to speak. He just waved his hand. South wicked-eyed palace master, who was on the ground, disappeared. He had already been kept into his Eden treasure. Elder Dongbo. The white-haired old man in midair felt helpless as he said, It is not easy for us witchcraft cultivators to gather all sorts of resources for our experiments. If you were to take everything away, although you did not kill my junior apprentice brother, it would be equivalent to taking half of his life away. Why don't you take a step back? Take a step back. Thunder Pagoda Lord. Although I respect you, you did not object when wicked-eyed palace master attacked me and said that he wanted to take away all my treasures and torture me. Dongbo Shuang sneered. Why? Now that your junior apprentice brother has been defeated and is in my hands, you are anxious when I use the same method to deal with him. Thunder Pagoda Lord frowned slightly. Dongbo Shuang was an outsider after all. He naturally did not care about the suffering and torture. However, his junior apprentice brother had suffered such a huge loss. Most importantly, He Lei Yan was present. If this matter were to spread, many of Wu Zu's fellow disciples would probably think that He Lei Yan was incompetent as he allowed Dongbo Shuang to capture wicked-eyed palace master alive. Who would have thought that his illusion technique was so powerful that even wicked-eyed palace master could not withstand it? Thunder Pagoda Lord thought to himself. Even if he personally made a move, wicked-eyed palace master would use all sorts of methods to deal with it. He even had some life-saving treasures to resist. To capture him instantly? It was impossible. Unfortunately, wicked-eyed palace master encountered Dongbo Shuang, who was the #1 in illusion techniques in this era. Just the illusion alone can be cultivated to such a level? The Thunder Pagoda Master secretly shook his head. I've never heard of it before. Cinnabar's inheritance is indeed extremely powerful among the ancient cultivators, but it is far from this kind of power. The Master of the Dark Plane was indeed a genius expert among the ancient cultivators, but he only borrowed the innate talent of ancient cultivators to create a world and nurture the heavenly punishment edge. A Unity Realm expert was able to capture an expert like Wicked-Eyed Palace Master alive with just an illusion. It was simply unbelievable. How could he have known? Dongbo Shuang was already very monstrous in the Slaughter Dao and Ripple Dao. Back then, Forefather Tian Yu and the Sword Master both placed great importance on him. However, his talent in the Tao of Mirage was even higher. After obtaining the ancient cultivator legacy, Cinnabar's legacy, his illusions had been pushed to an extremely terrifying level. Although the Thunder Pagoda Master's heart was complicated, he still said, Elder Dongbo, you are making things difficult for me. After all, he is my junior brother. Who can he blame if he is weaker? What I am doing isn't considered bullying the weak. Dongbo Shuang said. A primal chaos realm giant dealing with a unity realm expert, or a cosmos god dealing with a primal chaos realm expert, could be said to be bullying the weak. Both parties were at the unity realm, and even the higher-ups under Wu Zu were embarrassed to say anything. Since that's the case, the expression of Thunder Pagoda Master turned cold. Then let me see how formidable this illusory realm of Elder Dongbo is. Haha, good. I also wish to compete with Thunder Pagoda Master. Dongbua Shuiying's eyes were filled with expectation. Lei Yan, Thunder Pagoda Master. He was publicly acknowledged as the strongest Unity Realm expert in the three great sacred worlds. His strength was absolutely at the peak of the 6th floor of Star Tower. It was said that when he attempted to get to the 7th floor, he had killed more than half the destruction devils before failing. In addition, being a hex cultivator, he had many combat techniques. Even though there were quite a few Unity Realm experts in the three great sacred worlds who had reached the 6th floor of Star Tower, they were weaker by an entire level. Dongbua Shuiying was slightly curious about his own strength. After cultivating in the ancient cultivation, his soul had become stronger, and he could unleash 15 sky punishment edges at his full strength. Dongbua Shuiying felt that he was qualified to attempt the 7th floor. Thunder Pagoda Master could coincidentally test his strength. Very good. The white-haired Thunder Pagoda Master, who was dressed simply nonchalantly, said, "It has been a long time since I fought with a Unity Realm expert." Given his pride, he had fought with Primal Chaos Realm giants in the previous few battles. Thunder Pagoda Master extended his right hand. A black flame appeared in his palm. The flame chi-chi sound was produced, causing the surrounding void to distort. He indifferently said, "I might be a hex cultivator, but I don't specialize in many things, Hong." Dongbua Shuiying was too lazy to speak. He directly unleashed a ruthless move. A gigantic world of darkness descended from the void, completely enveloping the Thunder Pagoda head. The Thunder Pagoda head also raised his head and looked at the world that enveloped him. He was still very calm. The ultimate art of the world of darkness? But this dark world had a total of 2,700 membrane walls. Clearly, Dongbua Shuiying had unleashed this dark world with his full strength the moment he arrived. This was the limit of what he could unleash. 2,700 layers of dark world. Dongbua Shuiying was not afraid of killing the other party in a single move, because he understood how strong this Thunder Pagoda Master was. The fleshy body of Thunder Pagoda Master was publicly recognized as the strongest Unity Realm expert. This included the other two sacred worlds, Ancient Sacred World and Ancestor Mother World. In terms of overall strength, Thunder Pagoda Master was the strongest Unity Realm expert in the three sacred worlds. But in terms of fleshy body, he was the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 5 great sacred worlds. By relying on the 2,700 layers of dark world, Dongbua Shuiying wanted to see how strong the other party's fleshy body was. Hung, in the vast sky, the world energy was surging. At the moment when the 2,700 layers of dark world were formed, it was directly destroyed. The resulting world-destroying energy was completely used on the body of Thunder Pagoda Master. Following behind, after the dark world was destroyed, the appearance of Thunder Pagoda Master was revealed. The robe on his body was still intact. The flesh on his face was slightly damaged, revealing his bones. The injuries on his body were rapidly healing. Quite strong. Thunder Pagoda Master stared at Dongbua Shuiying. One of his 2 eyes was damaged and was rapidly recovering. Even if Dark World Master was alive, he wouldn't be as strong as you. This move is at the level of the 7th floor of Star Tower. But if you were to attempt the 7th floor, you wouldn't be able to resist against the combined attack of those 10 destruction devils. Your fleshy body is very strong too. An enormous fiery red god bird, Cinnabar, suddenly appeared behind Dongbua Shuiying. Cinnabar spread its wings, and it seemed to cover half the sky. A fiery red aura immediately spread out and enveloped the side of Thunder Pagoda Master. The illusory realm started invading Thunder Pagoda Master. Thunder Pagoda Master was different from the previous Wicked-Eyed Palace Master and Monarch Chihu. Since he was able to achieve this, he had naturally reached the 3rd level of the Heart Realm. My heart as the world. Such a formidable illusory realm. No wonder Wicked-Eyed would fall for it. Thunder Pagoda Master frowned slightly. He could feel the waves of illusory realm assaulting him. Even though he was able to break it with his spirit and willpower, his heart energy was still being disrupted. I actually have to use 30% of my heart energy to resist against it. That's good too. I'll use a technique that consumes less heart energy. Elder Dongbua, receive a move from me too. Thunder Pagoda Master chuckled. Hong 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 hong. One could see large lumps of flesh flying out from his body. After flying out, they rapidly condensed into mini giants with exposed skin. Every giant had rock-like skin, and their faces were exactly the same as Thunder Pagoda Master. A total of 4 giants appeared. All of them were letting out a sky-shaking roar. The roar had even formed a shockwave that spread across more than 500 kilometers. Everywhere it passed, the oasis and grass were leveled. This was the sacred world. Just the roar alone had such power. Dongbo Shuang also knew of this technique of his opponent. Thunder Pagoda Master had cultivated his fleshly body to an unimaginable level. He could even separate a portion of his flesh and blood to form 4 giant bodies. The defense of the giant bodies might be slightly weaker than his original body, but their strength was much stronger than his original body. When each giant body was created, Thunder Pagoda Master had maximized the giant's close combat strength. Every single one of them could be considered to be at the level of the 6th floor of Star Tower. And this was merely one of the techniques that made Thunder Pagoda Master famous throughout the 5 sacred worlds. Chapter 917. After the 4 giants raised their heads and roared, they stared at the distant Dongbo Shuang. Immediately after, they transformed into afterimages. Although they were slower than the main body, they were still so fast that Dongbo Shuang was speechless. This Lei Yan's fleshly body is indeed worthy of being the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 5 sacred worlds. Even his giant body is so fast. Hong! The 4 giants arced through many arcs as they attacked Shuang from all directions. Their palms seemed as if they were sculpted from rocks. They either slapped over, clawed over, or hacked over. Even though their attacks had yet to touch Shuang, their power had already caused the surrounding space to shatter like a mirror with pu sounds, causing many cracks to appear. This was the power of absolute violence. They were all controlled by the Thunder Tower Master, and could ignore the illusory realm. With a thought from Dongbo Shuang, countless ripples filled the void and rapidly entangled the 4 giants, causing their speed to decrease slightly. This caused Dongbo Shuang to shake his head. The power of the plate ripple diagram was still not enough. If it could be improved to the level of the 6th floor of Star Tower, it would be of great use. However, the wave domain was only a support. Dongbo Shuang's killing move was the Sky Punishment Edge. A ray of resplendent light appeared within the 12 illusory realms. Xiao xiao xiao. The 12 Sky Punishment Edges descended from the illusory realms. When they appeared, they were blocking the 4 giants. Moreover, every 3 Sky Punishment Edges attacked one of the giants. 12 Sky Punishment Edges? The confident Thunder Tower Master's expression changed when he saw this. Hong hong hong. The 12 Sky Punishment Edges clashed with the 4 giants. The 4 giants let out furious roars and waved their palms to receive the attacks. On one side was the Thunder Tower Master, who had cultivated the bodies of the 4 giants. On the other side was the purely offensive Sky Punishment Edges. There were a total of 12 of them. This was accompanied by a heaven-shaking boom. The shockwaves from the battle swept across 10,000 li. The shockwaves from the giants' palms swept across 10,000 li, or even more than 100,000 li. This wasn't because the giants' palms were stronger, but because the power of the Heaven Punishment Blade was more restrained and condensed, while the giants' attacks were more violent. When the Divine Punishment Blades dissipated, the 4 giants stood on the vast land. All of them had hideous wounds on their bodies, and some of the wounds had almost cut their bodies in half. However, they were recovering rapidly, and this land, the surrounding hundreds of thousands of kilometers, had been reduced to ruins, and half of the oasis that had been brimming with vitality had been destroyed. This was the sacred world, and the shockwaves from the battle had destroyed the area spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers. This was absolutely a battle between primal chaos giants. Naturally, it was a weaker primal chaos giant. For those who were slightly more experienced, it was very normal for the shockwaves of a battle to reach 1,000,000 kilometers in the sacred world. To be able to resist my 4 Toyuo giants, it is worth it for me to use my full strength. The Thunder Pagoda Master, who was standing far away, finally moved. Whoosh! He did not execute his famous domain technique, because he was clear that Dongbo Shueying was definitely the strongest Unity Realm expert he had ever met. Ordinary techniques would be a waste of time. This is my strongest move. Take it. His voice transmitted into the ears of Dongbo Shueying. Thunder Pagoda Master had already turned into a bolt of lightning and appeared by the side of Dongbo Shueying. It was too fast. The distance between both parties was not too far, and in front of the terrifying speed of Thunder Pagoda Master, the effect was not any weaker than teleportation. If one said that the speed of the giant body surpassed his, then the speed displayed by Thunder Pagoda Master had caused Dongbo Shueying to sigh in shock. The difference in speed was too great. Being the strongest expert at the Unity Realm, for the sake of survival, the true body of Thunder Pagoda Master was extremely powerful in terms of speed and defense. Who? The palms of Thunder Pagoda Master were very white. They were ordinary as they slapped out at Dongbo Shueying, but one of his palms was faintly surrounded by lightning, and the other was faintly surging with flames. It seemed ordinary, and in terms of momentum, it was much weaker than the giant body. But this was the most terrifying move of Thunder Pagoda Master. His absolute art, Thunder Flames, was also the name he gave to others. It was said that when he was weak he was obsessed with researching lightning and flames. He wasn't like other hex cultivators who researched a lot. In his early days, Thunder Pagoda Master mainly researched lightning and flames. Later on, he gradually researched the fleshly body. He combined the power of lightning and flames to create a fusion absolute art Thunder Flames, which was truly awe-inspiring. When his true body attacked, the other four giant bodies continued to roar as they charged over. Boom boom boom. Dongbo Shueying diverted his attention to unleash 12 sky punishment edges to obstruct the four giants. At the same time, black scales suddenly appeared on the surface of Dongbo Shueying's palms. His palms seemed to have turned into peerless ferocious beasts, as they emitted an aura of slaughter. Following which, Dongbo Shueying's palms pierced forward like two swords. Selah! A pair of black-scaled palms met Thunder Pagoda Master's palms head-on. Thunder Pagoda Master's lips curled upwards as he intentionally met the palms. He was also an extremely prideful person, so why would he avoid it? At the instant of contact, Thunder Pagoda Master's palms changed from lightning to flames on his left hand, while his right hand changed from flames to lightning. This instantaneous change instantly erupted with terrifying might. On the other hand, Dongbo Shueying's palms were domineering and valiant. Indistinctly, a pair of gigantic front claws appeared and pierced forward together with Dongbo Shueying's palms. Pung! Both parties collided. Dongbo Shueying couldn't help but stagger back 6 steps. Every step caused the ground to tremble. Thunder Pagoda Master, on the other hand, took a step back. He looked at Dongbo Shueying in astonishment. He can actually take my Thunder Flames head-on. At this moment Dongbo Shueying stood there. His black-scaled hands were indistinctly enveloped by the gigantic front claws, emitting terrifying killing intent. I'm using the Imperial Dragon's claws to execute the apocalyptic sixth sword. Yet I'm still at a disadvantage. Dongbo Shueying sighed inwardly. The most terrifying thing about the Imperial Dragon's inheritance was the pair of hands. If the toughness of the entire body's scales could be said to be comparable to a middle-grade Void Divine weapon, then the hands that were used as weapons could be said to be comparable to a high-grade Void Divine weapon. Furthermore, they had all sorts of mystical properties. Using them to execute the apocalyptic sixth sword was much more powerful than using a weapon. It could be said that, in terms of close combat, Dongbo Shueying had an advantage. He could definitely tear apart a giant in a one-on-one fight. Unfortunately, when facing Thunder Pagoda Master's strongest killing move, he was still at a disadvantage. However, Dongbo Shueying wasn't injured at all. Again, Thunder Pagoda Master wasn't willing to believe it, and roared furiously. Boom! His true body charged over once again. The four giants also roared and charged over. With his powerful true body working together with the four giants, it was sufficient to suppress other Unity Realm experts. After all, no Unity Realm expert at the 7th level of Star Pagoda had appeared in the 3 great sacred worlds. Dongbo Shueying felt that he could attempt it, But at least he had not truly attempted to pass through the 7th level of Star Pagoda. Come at me. Dongbo Shuang also went berserk. A pair of black-scaled hands filled with a murderous and destructive aura welcomed Thunder Pagoda Master. Many sky punishment edges descended from the void. Dongbo Shuang would occasionally split out 4 to 5 sky punishment edges to coordinate with his body to attack Thunder Pagoda Master. After all, 8 sky punishment edges were sufficient to resist against the 4 giants. Working together with the sky punishment edges, and his true body engaging in close combat, Dongbo Shuang was actually gradually gaining the upper hand. What? Thunder Pagoda Master was incomparably furious. Even though his fleshy body was strong enough to resist against the sky punishment edges, the power of the sky punishment edges was too great. He would be forced back by the impact, and his combat movements would be disrupted. In terms of techniques, Dongbo Shuang, who cultivated the laws and profound mystery system, still had the upper hand. His palms would frequently land on the body of Thunder Pagoda Master. Pung pung pung! Even though Thunder Pagoda Master was fearless, he was struck time after time. Humph! Thunder Pagoda Master suddenly retreated far away. The 4 giants immediately turned into flesh and flew towards him, fusing into his body. He coldly looked at Dongbo Shuang. He was too lazy to say anything. He simply waved his hand, causing thunder and fire to flash in his hand. He tore open a spatial passage and left with a step. Thunder Pagoda Master felt sullen. His offense was very fierce. The 4 giants were all powerful in offense. Working together with his stronger true body, he would always be the one suppressing others at the Unity Realm. But this time, Dongbo Shuang was attacking madly, and he could only rely on his body to resist. He left just like that. Dongbo Shuang still admired his opponent. He couldn't be considered to have one. He merely had the upper hand in terms of offense. His opponent's body was truly terrifying. It seems like with my current strength, I don't have the confidence to pass the 7th level. Dongbo Shuang thought. Maybe according to my plan, I would have the confidence to pass the 7th level after researching that final killer move. He had reached his current level in both the Cinnabar Inheritance and the Imperial Dragon Inheritance. When the stone mirror guided him, it also guided the fusion of these 2 inheritances, forming a sinister black flower. From this sinister black flower, Dongbo Shuang was able to see the profoundness behind the fusion of the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter. If he were to fuse these 2 Taos together, he might be able to create a move that was even stronger than the apocalyptic 6th sword and sky punishment edges. There weren't any spectators in this battle. However, Wicked-Eyed Palace Lord was captured alive. Wu Zu's subordinates soon began their investigation. Naturally, they were able to see the scene of the battle. The moment they saw it, they were shocked. What? Dongbo Shuang isn't any weaker than Lei Yan. Terrifying illusory arts, sky punishment edges, close combat? Lei Yan could only rely on his body to fight against him. How can this be? The more people knew, the faster the news would spread. Dongbo Shuang had also reported the news. After all, he had captured an expert under Wu Zu's sect. When the Great Void Heaven Temple investigated, they were also shocked. Lei Yan was previously publicly acknowledged as the strongest Unity Realm expert in this era. However, because of this battle, Lei Yan wasn't the strongest anymore. Naturally, Dongbo Shuang wasn't the strongest either. None of them had an obvious advantage. Ha ha ha. Myriad Ancient Sacred World. Deep within a mountain, there was a small courtyard. The courtyard was filled with weeds. Within the courtyard, a silver-haired golden-horned man sat on a stone bench. His sword-like silver eyebrows twitched as he laughed complacently. His laughter reverberated within the small courtyard. In front of him, a scene appeared. It was the scene of the battle between Dongbo Shuang and the Thunder Pagoda Lord. As expected of the disciple of I Gu Qi, although I have only accepted one disciple, he is the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 3 great sacred worlds. My eyes are truly good when it comes to accepting disciples. The silver-haired golden-horned man was rather pleased. Chapter 918. There were very few who could cultivate to the final realm Cosmos God Realm. The number of cosmos gods in any sacred world could be counted with one's fingers. Like the ancestor mother world, there was only one ancestor mother. And the silver-haired golden-horned male was one of the two cosmos gods of the Voidwalker lineage, Wuxia. The other was the founder of the Voidwalker lineage, Void Primogenitor. Wuxia had once left behind his inheritance in the hometown cosmos of Dongbushuang. And Dongbushuang had also experienced the trials and cultivated the Voidwalker lineage. It was precisely because of his accomplishments in the Void Believer lineage that he had sufficient foundation to comprehend the 4 diagrams left behind by Emperor Juyun. Furthermore, he was able to pry into that faintly existing higher dimension world and grasp the ultra-long distance teleportation technique. He has cultivated for a relatively short period, yet he could suppress Lei Yan. Haha. The silver-haired golden-horned male felt delighted, yet he could not find anyone to talk to. Teacher. The silver-haired golden-horned male transmitted. Wang. A figure condensed and turned into a black-robed green-haired male. This green-haired male had a pair of beautiful violet eyes. His entire being seemed like the void, and he was one with the world. He directly walked to a stone stool and sat down. Wuxia, what's the matter? This green-haired male was none other than Void Primogenitor. He truly loved and pitied the masses, and he disliked those devils the most. You should know that my disciple is Dongbushuang. The silver-haired golden-horned male said. You came looking for me just for this matter? Void Primogenitor was slightly startled. This is a huge matter. He is my only disciple. Wuxia glared. Void Primogenitor felt slightly helpless. Wuxia, currently, Sacred Master is thinking of ways to kill you. Fortunately, you have Wu Zu's full protection. Otherwise, you would still be fleeing for your life. Sacred Master was furious. He swore to kill Wuxia. He did not care about the price. Even the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-star Oceanic Sacred World could not protect him, even though Jiezu was strong, unless Wuxia followed Jiezu all the time. Therefore, in the end, only the Sorcerer Ancestor could help. The Sorcerer Ancestor's attainments in spirit designs were the best among the ultimate existences. With his help, Wuxia was able to live a peaceful life. Of course, Gudai also paid a price. He had to cooperate with Wu Zu to carry out some experiments on the void. He wants to kill me. What can I do? Gudai leisurely poured wine for himself and his master. At most, I'll lose my life. I've traveled to countless places in my life, seen countless sceneries, and met countless experts. Even the Sacred Lord was defeated by me. Haha. Now I have the strongest disciple in the unity realm of the 3 great sacred worlds. TSK, this life is really worth it. Your disciple and Lei Yan are equally matched. His attacks are slightly stronger, but Lei Yan's body has the advantage. Right now, he can't be considered the strongest of the 3 great sacred worlds, the Void Primogenitor said casually. How long has he been cultivating? Just wait and see. Soon, he will be number 1, Wuxia said proudly. The Void Primogenitor looked at Wuxia's delighted expression and could not help but sigh inwardly. This disciple of his did not care about the fury of the Sacred Lord. If I could advance another step, Wuxia wouldn't have to flee. In the end, I, as his master, am not strong enough. The Void Primogenitor thought. His attainments in the void were extremely high. After the death of Emperor Juyun, he became the expert with the highest attainments in the void. If he could advance another step to the 2nd level, he could rely on his attainments in the void to fight against the Sacred Lord. In the past, for the sake of killing Emperor Juyun, Sacred Lord had to put in a lot of effort. It was only during the battle where the primitive ancient sacred world shattered that Emperor Juyun was heavily injured and eventually fell. Even until now, Sacred Lord had clearly guessed that Emperor Juyun's treasure was hidden in a certain time-space around the 9-cloud Great Land, but he could not find it. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving, the Void Primogenitor said. Master, accompany me for a drink, Wuxia said helplessly. For my only disciple to be so formidable, it is rare for me to be happy during my days of fleeing. It's a pity that I don't dare to tell others, because I'm afraid of exposing that Snow Eagle is my only disciple, causing Sacred Lord to vent his anger on him. Thus, I can only look for you, master. Fine, fine, fine. If you are happy, I'll accompany you for a few more cups. The void primogenitor shook his head. 7-star Oceanic Sacred World, Great Void Heaven Temple. Dongbua Shuiying had already returned to the Great Void Heaven Temple. That wicked-eyed palace master was handed over to Ancestor Devil for punishment. As for the negotiation with the disciples under Wuxia, that was a matter for the higher-ups of the Great Void Heaven Temple to handle. Due to all sorts of grudges, all sorts of tortures and punishments had happened many times. As the 3 great sacred worlds had to face against the 2 great religions, they still stood on the same side and had a bottom line. Like the Void Primogenitor, Jade Light Master, and many others who hated evil as their enemies, they could only bear with the great devils under Jiezu and Wuxia. At most, they would punish and torture them harshly, making them suffer. Hong Shuiying flew backwards, crashing into many mountain peaks, causing a chain of mountains to rumble and crumble. One could see 8 blood-armored destruction devils standing in midair. I've heard that Lei Yan has killed more than half the destruction devils when he challenged the 7th level. I've only killed 2, and can't hold on any longer. Dongbua Shuiying's body was being invaded by a large amount of blood energy. Even the black scales on the surface of his body had been permeated. He stared at the 8 destruction devils. At least in terms of challenging the Star Pagoda, I can't compare to Lei Yan. That's right too. Lei Yan's body is extremely strong. He can resist against the corrosion of this destruction energy from the destruction devils, much better than me. He can definitely hold on for a longer period and forcefully exhaust more destruction devils to death. Dongbua Shuiying understood this point. Actually, in terms of offense, his Sky Punishment Edge was slightly weaker than Thunder Pagoda Master's Lightning Flame Absolute Art. But because he cultivated the Cinnabar inheritance, his soul was incredibly strong. That was why he could unleash more than 10 Sky Punishment Edges, allowing him to make up for the quality. That was why his offense was slightly better by a level. If not for his soul being much stronger than the other party, not only would his body be weaker than the other party, even his offense would be weaker. I have to be stronger to get through the 7th level. Dongbua Shuiying was slightly startled. In history, there were 2 who got through the 7th level of Star Pagoda, out of the 6 great holy grounds. Using the words of Black Emperor, when he was at the Unity Realm, with the 4 great inheritances complementing each other, he had reached the 7th level strength. Those who could get through the 7th level of Star Pagoda at the Unity Realm were too talented. One had to know. The 7th level of Star Pagoda was considered not bad, even amongst primal chaos giants. Heaven Weeping Sect Master was at this level. Dongbua Shuiying, hurry over. Forefather Tian Yu's voice reverberated in the 7th level of Star Pagoda space. Yes, Forefather. Dongbua Shuiying acknowledged. With the help of the Star Pagoda treasure spirit, Dongbua Shuiying was able to expel the destruction energy from his body. He then immediately headed towards the usual residence of Forefather Tian Yu. It was a slightly ordinary courtyard. Forefather. Dongbua Shuiying did not face any obstruction along the way. He arrived before Forefather Tian Yu. Forefather Tian Yu was currently fishing leisurely. The lake within the courtyard was just a few dozen meters wide, and he could see many fishes swimming around with his naked eyes. It is not bad for you to kill a portion of the destruction devils at the 7th level of Star Pagoda. Forefather Tian Yu praised with a smile. Amen. Dongbua Shuiying nodded. He understood the meaning of Forefather Tian Yu. The 7th level originally consisted of 10 destruction devils working together. They were like one entity, attacking and defending as one. They were incredibly powerful, and if one's offense was slightly weaker, it would be impossible to break through the combined defense of 10 destruction devils. Dongbua Shuiying was able to forcefully break through and kill 2 destruction devils. It meant that he had touched the boundary of the 7th level of Star Pagoda strength. If he improved a little more, he might be able to kill all the destruction devils. Neither arrogant nor rash. Take it slow. Forefather Tian Yu was still looking forward to Dongbua Shuiying. He then said, "Oh right, the reason why I summoned you over is because that teacher of yours has prepared a gift for you." Oh, Dongbua Shuiying was startled. Teacher? Guqi. Forefather Tianyu said. Chapter 919. As Forefather Tianyu spoke, he waved his hand. A silver hoop appeared in front of him and flew towards Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang was currently feeling complicated. Ever since he obtained the Voidwalker inheritance and became the disciple of Guqi, even though he had arrived at the 7-star oceanic sacred world, he had never seen his master Guqi again. Even Forefather Tianyu did not wish for him to have too much contact with Guqi, in case the sacred master would vent his anger on him. Wang, Dongbua Shuang grabbed the hoop and refined it. Naturally, the array within it was activated. An image appeared by the side of the hoop. It was the silver-haired golden-horned man. Haha, the only disciple of Guqi is so powerful. I really wish to show off to the other old fellows. It's a pity that the matter of you being my disciple has to be kept a secret. It's not suitable for me to meet you. Once this trouble is over, we can meet again and have a few drinks. Cultivate well and don't slack off. Alright, let's not talk anymore. The silver-haired golden-horned man Guqi chuckled. Following which, the image in the air dissipated. Dongbua Shuang knew that this was a recorded image. After playing it once, it would dissipate without leaving any traces. Clearly Guqi was still very careful. He inspected the interior of the hoop. This is... Dongbua Shuang was shocked. Within the storage space of the hoop, there were many treasures piled up. Dongbua Shuang was able to identify them one by one. He could easily determine that they were worth more than 6,000 origin world rocks. Guqi saw the scene of your battle with Lei Yan and determined that you have cultivated Black Emperors, Cinnabar inheritance, and Imperial inheritance. Thus, he helped you purchase all the external items required to reach the primal chaos realm. Forefather Tianyu said. To be precise, he provided the origin world rocks. After that, I purchased these treasures from the outside. After all, you have to be careful. If he took the initiative to purchase these treasures, the sacred master might suspect you. After all, you are a Voidwalker. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He determined that these rare treasures could help him cultivate to the 8 transformations of Cinnabar and the 8 transformations of Baron. Given Master Guqi's status, he must have seen these 2 legacies, which was why he knew what resources were needed. However, the Black Emperor had not spread the Cinnabar's 9 transformations and Baron's 9 revolutions to the outside world. Only those who truly cultivated the legacies and had obtained the approval of the Black Emperor would be taught the last part. Regardless of whether it was Guqi or Forefather Tianyu, they only had the chance to look at it, but they didn't have the talent to cultivate it. Ancient cultivation required talent. He would choose a suitable inheritance according to his talent. So many. Dongbua Shuang held onto the ring and felt that it was quite heavy. In just a short while, Dongbua Shuang had given him treasures worth over 6,000 origin world rocks. It's impossible for our great Void Heaven Temple to directly bestow such a large amount of treasures. If you want to obtain them, you'll have to fight for them yourself. Forefather Tianyu shook his head. Guqi only has you as his disciple, and he doesn't know how to teach his disciples. Since he wants to pass it to you, I can only pass it to you. You must cherish these resources. If you were to fight for them yourself, it wouldn't be easy for you to obtain them. Understood, Dongbua Shuang said. Forefather, I wish to ask where is my master now? He really wanted to meet him. In the myriad ancient sacred world, Forefather Tianyu said. Myriad ancient sacred world? Dongbua Shuang was startled. He had stayed in the myriad ancient sacred world for a long time, yet he didn't know that his master Guqi was in that sacred world. His troubles aren't small. It is Wu Zhu who is willing to protect him. Forefather Tianyu said. Brat, don't go and meet him. Even if you want to meet him, it's impossible for him to meet you. I'm just afraid of trouble. After all, Sacred Master is constantly thinking of ways to deal with Guqi. If you go over, you might be discovered. Dongbua Shuang obediently nodded. Even though he wanted to meet him, it wasn't the right time. In the following days, Dongbua Shuang went to the Palace Hall of Time to cultivate. He maintained 100-fold time acceleration. After all, It wasn't too expensive for him to cultivate at the Unity Realm. If he reached the Primal Chaos Realm, he wouldn't be willing to enter the Palace Hall of Time unless it was necessary. At the same time, he bought some materials to aid his cultivation. In the future, the stronger he became, the less effective the materials would be. Currently, it was more suitable for him to use them at the Unity Realm. He wanted to create a move that fused the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter, according to that wicked flower formed by the stone mirror. Naturally, it was fine if he couldn't create it. Who knew? He might be able to step into the Primal Chaos Realm in one fell swoop. Time passed. Cough, cough, cough. Above the desolate mountain range, Dongbua Shuang stood there. His expression was pale. Large amounts of bloody wicked energy had permeated into his body. There were still 2 blood-armored destruction devils standing in the distance. They seemed to be looking at Dongbua Shuang with fear. You only know how to escape. If you are capable, fight me head-on. Dongbua Shuang said. Haha, you are being corroded by the destructive energy. The longer you stay, the more serious your injuries will be. Why should we fight to the death with you? Those 2 blood-armored destruction devils were both cunning. One of them was faintly discernible, and the other was hiding far away. Both of them had great survival and escaping capabilities, which was why they could escape until now. The other 8 had been killed by Dongbua Shuang. I've pushed the plate ripple diagram to the 6th level Star Pagoda strength, yet I still couldn't get through it. Dongbua Shuang felt his injuries. He shook his head inwardly. He had to rely on the Star Pagoda to suppress and expel the wicked energy. He could not hold on for too long by himself. The breakthrough of the plate ripple diagram had helped his overall strength significantly. If he were to fight with Thunder Pagoda Master again, Dongbua Shuang felt that he would gain a clear advantage. The plate ripple diagram was a domain. After the domain suppression was improved, it affected the strength of the destruction devils. Their escaping abilities were also affected, causing their overall combat power to drop. That was why Dongbua Shuang managed to kill 8 destruction devils. It's a pity that he only lacked the 2 craftiest ones. The 5 great sacred worlds and the primal chaos void were as calm as usual. Even though there were killings and battles happening everywhere, the highest level was still peaceful. The final realm existences were all in hiding, and within a slightly more mysterious palace hall. This palace hall was even more secretive than Emperor Juyun's treasure cove. And now many figures were gathered here. There was an enormous black circular stone table. Many figures were seated around it. There was Void Primogenitor, Blade Emperor, Forefather Tianyu, Devil Mountain Primogenitor, and a male with a huge snake coiling around his body. The male with the huge snake had a bare chest. He had an extremely handsome appearance. He chuckled. My big sister is currently in closed-door cultivation. Thus, I'll be attending this gathering. There were a total of 2 cosmos gods in the Jade Light sacred ground. One was Jade Light Master, and the other was her brother, Great Emperor Cloud Serpent. Lord Lo Cheng doesn't like trivial matters. Thus, he isn't attending this gathering. Blade Emperor was a golden-robed male. He stood there, causing others to feel an unseen sharp suppression. He was also the strongest expert in the 6 great holy grounds. This gathering in the Star Palace Hall will be hosted by me. The other 4 present were listening. Excluding Ancestor Bone, there were a total of 6 great holy grounds in the 2 great sacred worlds. According to logic, there should be 6 cosmos gods attending this gathering. It's just that Lord Lo Cheng would usually not appear. Chapter 920. The rules of the Star Convention this time will be the same as usual. Saber Emperor indifferently glanced at the other 4. Now, the problem is that each of us 5 sides will choose a candidate. The candidate must be approved by more than half of the people present. After all, they are here to help us choose a talented cultivator with enough talent and perception. The Star Convention. It was a grand meeting jointly organized by the 7-star Oceanic Sacred World and the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. It was held once every trillion years. Anyone who had cultivated for less than 2 trillion years and reached the Unity Realm was qualified to participate. The reason why it was held Their goal was to find some genius cultivators in the vast sacred world. Although the sacred grounds usually accepted disciples, the requirements were very high, and the sacred world was just too vast. There were many weak cultivators in many places who did not have the chance to travel such a long distance to become a disciple of a sacred ground. There were some monstrous geniuses among them, like the sword master. He did not receive any nurturing previously. He cultivated to the primal chaos realm, within an epoch in his hometown cosmos. Once he entered the great void heaven temple, and flipped through many books, he broke through to the cosmos god realm in one fell swoop. There were many similar examples. Even if these geniuses that were left behind didn't have good conditions, and didn't receive good nurturing, if they were able to overcome all the difficulties and cultivate to the unity realm, once they entered the sacred ground and were nurtured, they would have a huge improvement. As for not being able to cultivate to the unity realm in 2 trillion years, even if one's cultivation environment was bad, if one couldn't do it, they wouldn't be qualified to be considered a genius. They wouldn't even be qualified to participate in the Star Convention. There were 2 screening mechanisms for the Star Convention. The first was a competition of strength to determine the ranking. This was a competition of strength. The other possibility was that the Master Teacher Guild would arrange for 5 experts to observe the entire selection process and pick out those who were worthy of being groomed. After all, the purpose of the Great Assembly was to select monstrous geniuses. For example, if someone who had cultivated for 10 billion years fought against someone who had cultivated for 1 trillion years, even if their strength was slightly weaker, the potential of the person who had cultivated for 10 billion years would be higher. And this selection was purely based on the inner judgment of the experts. The power was too great. Hence, the 5 great holy grounds had to obtain the approval of the cosmos gods in order to select a candidate. Haha, that brat General Axe is currently roaming around. I've asked him, and he's willing to be the master of this Star Convention. Devil Mountain Primogenitor was the largest one present. His entire body was covered in a black shell, and his eyes were blood red. Does anyone have any objections? General Hatchet Palace Master? Of course not. No problem. It's rare for him to come. Great Emperor Cloud Serpent, Void Primogenitor, Forefather Tianyu, and Blade Emperor smiled and nodded. Few in the 6 great holy grounds reached the 9th level Star Pagoda. For instance, the Great Void Heaven Temple only had a Primal Chaos Hall Master, and the Primogenitor Island only had a General Hatchet Palace Master. For a Primal Chaos realm to reach the 9th level, the difficulty wasn't any lower than a Unity realm reaching the 7th level. They could unleash strength close to a universe level with their Primal Chaos realm bodies. Clearly, he had researched more thoroughly than Cosmos gods in certain aspects. Even Cosmos gods were respectful towards these primal chaos existences, who could get through the 9th level Star Pagoda level. Although the Star Convention was very important, it was still very rare for someone like General Hatchet Palace Master to be one of the 5 masters. My disciple Qingxiu is quite interested in the master of the Star Meeting, Emperor Cloud Serpent said. Qingxiu? She's a bit weak. Saber Emperor frowned. I think we should change the candidate. Island Master Clearsong's reputation isn't bad. At the very least, he'll be fair, the Void Primogenitor said. I'm afraid her foresight isn't good enough. Forefather Tianyu said. Choose another. Devil Mountain Primogenitor shook his head. 3 out of the 5 present objected. Clearly, this candidate had been rejected. Clearsong Island Master was the disciple of Great Emperor Cloud Serpent. He was a primal chaos realm giant who specialized in music, and his strength was on the 7th floor of Star Tower. Great Emperor Cloud Serpent was slightly startled. He helplessly said, Then choose Violet Slaughter Island Master. Amen. Forefather Tianyu nodded. All right. Devil Mountain Primogenitor was straightforward. Violet Slaughter Island Master not bad. All right. The candidates were chosen very quickly. Primogenitor Island chose General Hatchet Palace Master. Void God Palace chose 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor. Blade Emperor City chose General Heaven Light. And Great Emperor Cloud Serpent chose Violet Slaughter Island Master. of which General Hatchet Palace Master was at the 9th level Star Pagoda Strength. 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, General Heaven Light, and Violet Slaughter Island Master were all at the 8th level Star Pagoda Strength. The teachers chosen for the convention were usually at the 8th level Star Pagoda Strength. It was rare for General Hatchet Palace Master to participate this time. Tianyu, who will be representing your Great Void Heaven Temple this time. All of them turned to Forefather Tianyu. I have a candidate. Forefather Tianyu said. He might be slightly weak, but I feel that he is more suitable. Who is it? Hurry up and tell us. You are still acting mysterious at this moment. The others urged. Forefather Tianyu said. Our Great Void Heaven Temple has the strongest inner hall elder. Dongbua Shuiying. He has killed a total of 8 destruction devils during the 7th floor of Star Tower. And he is just a short distance away from getting through the 7th floor of Star Tower. Dongbua Shuiying? A Unity Realm expert? Blade Emperor frowned slightly. Isn't he slightly weak? The Star Convention is a huge event, and those participating are all at the Unity Realm. The 5 teachers of the convention have huge authority, and I feel that a Unity Realm expert is still lacking to be a teacher of the convention. I feel that he is quite suitable. Devil Mountain Primogenitor's enormous body sat there. His blood-red eyes looked at Blade Emperor. This Dongbua Shuiying is considered half a step into the 7th floor of Star Tower with his strength. In terms of understanding towards the Unity Realm, even 8th level Star Pagoda Primal Chaos Giants might not be able to compete with him. His eyesight is definitely sufficient. Furthermore, it is said that he has only cultivated for a few tens of billions of years. Being a genius cultivator, he might be able to pick out more talented cultivators. Half a step into the 7th floor of Star Tower? That means he has yet to step through. Great Emperor Cloud Serpent shook his head. If he got through the 7th floor with the strength of a Unity Realm expert, nobody would have any objections. But ultimately, he did not break through. His foundation is still lacking to be a teacher of the convention. Perhaps those Unity Realm geniuses participating in the Star Convention might seem respectful on the surface, but deep in their hearts, they might not respect Dongbua Shuiying. Void Primogenitor, what do you think? Currently, there were 2 who objected, Blade Emperor and Great Emperor Cloud Serpent. There were also 2 who agreed, Forefather Tianyu and Devil Mountain Primogenitor. Finally, it all depended on Void Primogenitor. His eyesight is sufficient. He cultivates many different domains and has a deep understanding of the various great systems. I feel that he is quite suitable. Void Primogenitor said. He was still willing to help his disciples and grand disciples. Great Emperor Cloud Serpent was startled. He passed. All right, since all of you have chosen him, then it is decided. Blade Emperor frowned slightly. But I'm afraid some cultivators will be unconvinced this time. So what if they are unconvinced? Devil Mountain Primogenitor snorted coldly. All right, the 5 candidates have been decided. Blade Emperor nodded. He did not say anything else. Even though he felt that there would be some objections, the Star Convention was held once every trillion years. It had been held many times already, and this was ultimately just one of them. Since 3 out of the 5 great holy grounds had agreed, there was no reason for him to object. Hence, the 5 teachers in charge of the Star Convention this time were General Hatchet Palace Master, Violet Slaughter Island Master, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, General Heaven Light, and Dongbua Shuiying. Old Ancestor Tianyu revealed a smile. Cultivating by oneself and being a teacher are different. This time, it is a rare tempering experience for Dongbua. He placed great importance on Dongbua Shuiying. After all, he had 1 foot in the 7th floor of Star Tower. He was also doing his best to fight for this opportunity for Dongbua Shuiying. Such tempering would be of great help to Dongbua Shuiying's growth. The news spread rapidly. Blade Emperor City, in the most dazzling hall of a completely golden palace. A man in gray robes was sitting cross-legged on a stone bed in the hall. His entire body was emitting golden light, and it was as though he was made of gold. He was looking downwards as he shared some of his cultivation experiences. Numerous disciples were listening attentively. He was General Heaven Light, and his status in Blade Emperor City was considered high. Amen. General Heaven Light frowned. He already knew who the 5 teachers of this star convention would be. This time, he took the initiative to take on the responsibility because he wanted to make use of this opportunity to choose 1 or 2 disciples for himself. A Unity Realm expert is actually on the same level as us? General Heaven Light's eyes were filled with a strand of anger. In his heart, this was the supreme convention of the 2 sacred worlds to select talented cultivators, and the status of the teachers of the convention was so high that it made him unhappy. It's a pity that this was a decision made by the highest level cosmos gods, and he was not qualified to object. Chapter 921. Within the Palace Hall of Time within the Holy Ground Great Void Heaven Temple. On the peak of a tall mountain, Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged. The wind was blowing against his robe. He was looking down at the great land and the vast starry sky. These few years, he had been consuming some supplementary materials and cultivating within the Palace Hall of Time. He wanted to fuse the Tao of Mirage and Tao of Slaughter into a move, but it's a pity that he did not manage to do so. Instead, his understanding of the primal chaos realm deepened. Everything became clearer in his understanding. Dongbua Shuang was certain that as time passed, his understanding of the primal chaos realm would improve. It was just a matter of time. The primal chaos realm is actually just a transition, Dongbua Shuang thought. Primal chaos realm. It was to break through the limits of the unity realm. Allowing this Tao path to be filled with endless possibilities was to break through the point of the limit and turn it into primal chaos. The primal chaos realm could give birth to endless possibilities. Eventually, it would form a cosmos, and that would be the final realm, Cosmos God. Actually, the essence of the primal chaos realm was like a piece of white paper. The Cosmos God was like a piece of art. The white paper was clean and filled with endless possibilities. Only then could one draw it. Naturally, it was extremely difficult to draw the most exquisite piece of art from it. This was also the biggest barrier in the many realms of cultivation. Only by drawing the most perfect could one become a cosmos. Nevertheless, it was difficult to create a piece of white paper, because cultivating step by step from a weak point would leave behind too many traces. Just like the Void God Origin Birth realm, there were many other profound mysteries mixed in, and it was impossible to turn it into a piece of white paper. Only by pursuing the pinnacle and purifying it completely, turning it into a single point. Only with the foundation of purification and unity would one be able to break through, turning it into a clean piece of white paper, primal chaos. Regardless of whether it was the realm of one's heart or cultivation, they were extremely profound. Hence, the majority of cultivation systems required one's heart to step into the primal chaos realm. If one's heart was not strong enough, one could not create this piece of primal chaos. Only with great determination and perseverance, and a deeper understanding of the Tao, could one abandon the influence of the past. Dongbua Shuang thought. Abandoning the influence did not mean that one did not need them. If one did not need to comprehend, would it be easier for a mortal who had never cultivated before to grasp the primal chaos? It was obviously wrong. Instead, one had to first comprehend it, then break through its influence and transcend it. Only then would one be able to discover the blank piece of paper in which all Taos existed. Chaos. No matter what kind of profound laws it was, no matter what cultivation system it was, they were all born from the primal chaos. Mastering primal chaos was extremely difficult. Otherwise, they would suddenly gain enlightenment and understand the primal chaos behind the unity realm. Either he became stronger and stronger, and as he became stronger and stronger, his foundation became deeper and deeper. Naturally, his understanding would become deeper and deeper. Dongbua Shuang was the second path. His Tao of Slaughter, Tao of Ripple, and Tao of Mirage had all touched upon the primal chaos realm. Walker's hidden secret had also touched upon the primal chaos realm. He had reached this stage in all his Tao paths, and he was still trying to fuse them together. His accumulations were too deep, and naturally, his understanding of them would become deeper. A message came through. Dongbua Shuang was taken aback. Star Convention? Me. one of the 5 teachers? Dongbo Shuang was taken aback. The 3 great sacred realms and the 2 great sects were at war. This kind of battle was also a battle between experts. That was why the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and the 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World would jointly organize a star convention. They would find some talented cultivators scattered across the world and pull them into their camps before nurturing them. Those who did not receive proper nurturing would have higher achievements in the past 2 trillion years. The moment they were nurtured, their achievements would be even higher. Some of them might even reach the primal chaos realm. As long as there was a cultivator who could reach the primal chaos realm in every star convention, then the star convention would be worth it. The teachers of the convention, General Hatchet Palace Master, General Heaven Light, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, and Violet Slaughter Island Master, are all at the primal chaos realm. And I am the only Unity Realm expert? Dongbo Shuang was clear that it was fine if the teachers of the convention had a high status. More importantly, half of the slots for the Star Convention were chosen by the teachers of the convention from the weaker juniors. This was sufficient to influence the fate of many Unity Realm geniuses. Dongbo Shuang. Forefather Tian Yu's voice reverberated in the surroundings. Forefather. Dongbo Shuang respectfully greeted. Becoming a teacher during the Star Convention is also a form of training for you. By then, those Unity Realm geniuses would also seek guidance from you. If the talented cultivators you choose are weak, it would mean that your judgment is bad. Forefather Tian Yu said, be it the selection or guidance, it would be a form of training for you. This is a rare opportunity, and you must grasp it well. Furthermore, you are representing my Great Void Heaven Temple this time. You must not throw the face of my Great Void Heaven Temple. Yes. Dongbo Shuang immediately responded. The 5 teachers came from the 5 sacred grounds. This time, the Great Void Heaven Temple wanted him to attend. Every single action of his represented the Great Void Heaven Temple. Naturally, he had to do it beautifully. Right now, this was just the beginning of the preparations. There were still 1,000,000 years before the convention would be held. Actually, before the selection of teachers for the convention, many talented cultivators across the 2 great sacred worlds had been preparing for this star convention. Because the star convention would be held at a fixed time, once every trillion years. Some of the weaker cultivators did not have the chance to join the sacred grounds. But after a long time, they had broken through to the Unity Realm. They wanted to make use of this opportunity to enter the sacred grounds and obtain nurturing from them. It was relatively easy to participate in the convention. As long as one was qualified, he could register with the 7-Star Oceanic Pavilion or the Eastern Unicorn Hall before entering any of the major cities in the 2 great sacred worlds. By then, the sacred grounds would naturally arrange everything. Time passed. Many young Unity Realm cultivators who were filled with hope began registering for the Star Convention. The Star Convention was held by the 6 great sacred grounds, and even cosmos gods would pay attention to it. But there was an unspoken rule. Disciples from the sacred grounds were forbidden from participating. After all, the selection of talented cultivators this time was for those who were scattered across the lands and did not receive proper nurturing. Some of them had poor cultivation conditions and could barely obtain some absolute arts. Some of them could enter some primal chaos superpowers. But the primal chaos superpowers could not compare with the sacred grounds. For instance, the Black Emperor Palace. Even though the Black Emperor was amazing, he could only guide those he specialized in. As for those he did not specialize in, he could only collect some absolute art scriptures. How could the scriptures he collected compare with the Great Void Heaven Temple, Primogenita Island, and other sacred grounds? Furthermore, the sacred grounds had cosmos gods and a group of primal chaos experts. Be it cultivation guidance, absolute art scriptures, treasures and resources, they far surpassed the primal chaos superpowers. Naturally, the disciples sent by the primal chaos superpowers would definitely be much better than those loose cultivators. It's a pity that during the selection, Dongbo Shuang and the others who had the same strength and cultivation period were more inclined towards the loose cultivators. Hung, in front of him, there was a huge illusory world. There was a vague black flower forming within, though it barely formed before collapsing. It still doesn't work. Seated cross-legged on the mountain peak, Dongbo Shuang softly shook his head. If I don't create this move, it is impossible for me to get through the 7th level of Star Pagoda. His Mirage, Slaughter, and Ripple Dao Absolute Arts were at the level of the 6th floor of Star Tower. Cinnabar's inheritance made his soul stronger, allowing him to unleash more sky punishment edges, causing his combat power to soar. The Imperial Dragon inheritance made his body stronger, allowing him to resist against the corrosion of the wicked destructive energy, allowing him to last longer. Even so, he could only kill 8 of the 10 destruction devils on the 7th level, and he could no longer improve any further. Dongbo Shuang was clear. The first difficulty in getting through the 7th level was to break the alliance of 10 destruction devils. It was hard to break their alliance of offense and defense. If he could break it, it meant that he had touched upon the strength of the 7th level. After breaking the alliance, he would have to kill them one by one. The survival capabilities of the destruction devils varied, and those with weaker survival capabilities were easier to kill. Hence 1, 2, 3. The further one went, the stronger their survival capabilities would be, and the harder it would be to kill them. Even though Dongbo Shuang had only killed 8 of them, and only 2 were left, the difficulty was getting higher. He would most likely have to double his strength before he could kill the final 2. Even a small increase in strength was useless. No wonder those who got through the 7th level at the Unity Realm are highly respected. Dongbo Shuang sighed inwardly. It is indeed difficult. It was normal for primal chaos experts to get through the 7th level. That was too abnormal for a Unity Realm expert to get through the 7th level. They would definitely reach the primal chaos realm, and the moment they broke through, they would reach the 8th level. As time passed, they would naturally become peak experts amongst those at the 8th level, and there was a high chance of them stepping into the 9th level. As for reaching the final realm Cosmos God, that would be somewhat illusory. It is time to set off. Dongbo Shuang, who was seated cross-legged on the mountain peak, stood up. Because the Star Convention would begin in a few months, and as one of the 5 teachers of the Star Convention, it was time for him to set off for the venue of the convention, the Blade Emperor City. Chapter 922. Hong Long Long, the space distorted and collapsed. The disturbance was huge. 2 figures walked out side by side. One was Dongbo Shuang, and the other was the silver-haired, silver-robed, black-skinned Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master might have kept his aura, but his senses were sharp enough. Ordinary primal chaos giants could discern that this was merely an incarnation of Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. When the Star Convention was held, experts from the 6 sacred grounds of the 2 great sacred worlds would attend. Usually, there would be at least one primal chaos expert. Because this time, the teacher of the Great Void Heaven Temple was Dongbo Shuang, a Unity Realm expert. They sent another expert to be in charge of the convention, the incarnation of Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Actually, most of them were just incarnations. Reaching the level of primal chaos experts, unless there was an important matter that required them to kill an extremely powerful enemy, they would only act with their true bodies. For ordinary meetings with friends or attending the convention, they could just send their incarnations. This is my first time coming to the Blade Emperor City. Dongbo Shuang looked afar. There was an incomparably huge city there. Under the law suppression of the sacred world, it was hard for him to see the outline of the entire city with his current strength. But according to the intelligence, the Blade Emperor City was 6,800 billion kilometers long and wide. It was considered common in the primal chaos void. But in the sacred world, it was a terrifying city. This was also the biggest city in the 2 great sacred worlds. Hong Hong Hong, there were layers of arrays revolving above the Blade Emperor City. It was constantly causing the world energy to surge like a tidal wave. Countless colorful lights surged in all directions. Under the illumination of the sun high in the sky, the Blade Emperor City was even more dazzling. It isn't ordinary, right? Inquisitive Sky Hall Master chuckled. For the sake of constructing this Blade Emperor city, Blade Emperor has paid a huge price. It is said that even Wu Zhu and Lord Lo Cheng have contributed to it. There are even unique treasures protecting the city. Even if Sacred Master were to kill his way here and destroy the entire Eastern Unicorn Sacred World, the Blade Emperor city would remain stable. After all, it is the #1 superpower of our two great sacred worlds. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Even though the Great Void Heaven Temple had a deep foundation, it was still lacking when compared to the Blade Emperor city. Come, let's go in, Inquisitive Sky Palace Master said. With a single teleportation, the two of them arrived at the east gate of the Saber Imperial City and entered the city. In just a few moments, experts from the Saber Imperial City came to welcome them and arranged accommodations for Dongbo Shuang and Inquisitive Heaven's Palace Lord. The two luxurious cave abodes were where Dongbo Shuang and the Inquisitive Sky Palace Master stayed during the Star Convention. Inquisitive Sky Palace Master, Elder Dongbo, I have also arranged some servants in your caves. If you have any trivial matters, feel free to instruct them. A purple metal man with 3 blades on his back said, If there's anything important, send me a message directly. I'll have to trouble Commander Chiu Dao, Inquisitive Sky Palace Master said indifferently. It's my duty, Commander Chiu Dao said with a smile. Then I won't disturb the two of you. Commander Chiu Dao immediately turned around and left, quickly teleporting far away. Inquisitive Sky Palace Master looked at Commander Chiu Dao's teleportation and said, Dongbua, this time, you have become one of the 5 teachers of the convention. This has already caused some objections, so you should be even more cautious when choosing talented cultivators. After all, you are not only representing yourself, but also our Great Void Heaven Temple. I understand, Dongbo Shuang nodded. The old ancestor had given him this position as a form of training for him. When he did things, he naturally couldn't let the Great Void Heaven Temple lose face. There were still more than 3 months until the convention. Dongbo Shuang had already received the list of cultivators participating in the Star Convention, as well as the information about them, because the registration deadline was 1 year in advance, and the organizers had already arranged for experts to sweep through the cities of the 2 sacred worlds, bringing all the participants to Saber Imperial City. More than 16,000. Dongbo Shuang looked at the list of names. After a long period of silence, he began to walk around Saber Imperial City. He wanted to experience this ancient city, as well as eat some of the famous delicacies. On this day, Snow Dragon Restaurant. This was an extremely famous restaurant in Saber Imperial City. It used a special method to raise snow dragons, and used the blood of the snow dragon as the main ingredient to make snow dragon wine. There were also snow dragon meat, snow dragon tongue, snow dragon liver, and various other ingredients that were cooked using different cooking methods. Over the years, it had made a name for itself in Saber Imperial City. Even though Saber Imperial City was huge and had many restaurants, it could still be ranked in the top 1,000. Cultivators also needed resources to cultivate, but where did the resources come from? Other than adventuring, killing, and fighting, this business of cooking delicacies was also a way to earn resources. There were many special ancient cultivators that were extremely talented in cooking delicacies. Amen. Dongbo Shuang tasted the pieces of fragrant and translucent snow dragon meat. He ate until his eyes squinted. This is absolutely ranked in the top 100 delicacies I've eaten. Amen. When I break through to the primal chaos realm and can use ultra-long distance teleportation publicly, I'll bring Jing Qiu, Yuer, Qing Yao and the others over to have a taste. Woo! It's delicious. Let me try the snow dragon liver. Amen. This piece of snow dragon liver is really soft. It's so soft that it softens my heart. It's truly delicious. The stronger one was, the more scenery one could see, of which eating delicacies was also considered a type of scenery. A wine flask fell onto the ground. The wine spilled all over the place, and the lid even rolled to the side. Seated at a corner, Dongbo Shuang could not help but look up. Not far away, there were 3 cultivators at the table, and it was rare for them to be at the Unity Realm. At this moment, a simple-looking green-robed male stood up. His expression was pale. Seated there was a golden-robed young man and a beautiful girl. This girl was faintly filled with charm. Being at the Unity Realm, you actually knocked the wine flask off the table? The golden-robed young man shook his head. Brother Fujun, you can't even take this little blow? You can actually cultivate to the Unity Realm with this little heart realm? The simple-looking green-robed male had a pale expression. He stared at the golden-robed young man and the beautiful girl. His eyes were filled with disbelief. His voice was trembling. Yenner, why is it like this? The girl in front of him, she was the true love of his heart. She was someone whom he was determined to be together with for life. He was willing to give up his life for her. And the time he spent together with her was a joyous one. Fujun, I'm sorry. After meeting Sun Yi for the past few days, I've already determined that he is my true love. The red-robed beautiful girl muttered. You and I are both cultivators. And you should know that feelings cannot be forced. We should separate when we need to. I believe that with your cultivation heart realm, you should be able to adapt very quickly. Adapt? The simple-looking green-robed male looked at the girl. How am I inferior to him? I've cultivated for a shorter period than him, and I'm stronger than him. I will definitely enter the holy ground in this star convention. We have known each other for countless years. But what about you and him? We have only known each other for 1,000 years. Could it be because his father is Xinghua Emperor? This has nothing to do with Xinghua Emperor. When meeting true love, don't talk about 1,000 years. Even a year is enough. The red-robed beautiful girl shook her head. The simple-looking green-robed male looked at the golden-robed young man. Xinghua Sun Yi, I treated you as my brother. But I never expected that you would be so ruthless. Forget it, forget it. I hope that you won't let Yenner down. If you do, I will definitely not let you off. Brother Fujun, the golden-robed young man shook his head. Firstly, it was your wife who seduced me in the dark. Fujun was stunned. The red-robed beautiful girl beside him was also stunned. She even controlled her magic to isolate the surroundings. As for Dongbua Xueying, who was seated at the corner, he became interested. Within his law domain, how could this girl's strength obstruct his investigation? Secondly, after she was seduced, I immediately investigated through my Xinghua God Palace. I even investigated her past. Including you, she has already had 3 Dao companions. If I were to be included, it would be the 4th. The red-robed beautiful girl was astonished. Fu Jun was filled with disbelief. How is that possible? Powerful cultivators had extraordinary mental states. Once they thought of themselves as Dao companions, they would rather be alone for the rest of their lives. Even if they had some special encounters that moved them, they might have a second Dao companion. But it was unheard of that true Dao companions would change 4 times in a row. This could only mean that they had ulterior motives. There were indeed such cultivators who would intentionally seduce others to become Dao companions, forcing them to sacrifice themselves for them. After all, Dao companions would not change even in death. Just like how Dongbua Xueying had risked his life for his wife. He had even paid a large amount of Origin World stones without any regrets. And intentionally deceiving others to become Dao companions would allow one to obtain a large amount of resources. Yenner you. Fu Jun looked at the red-robed beautiful girl in front of him. Don't listen to his nonsense. The red-robed beautiful girl said. She felt regret in her heart. In the past, she fancied the potential of Fu Jun and thought of ways to seduce him. But this time, she met the young master of the Xinghua God Palace during the Star Convention. One had to know that Xinghua Emperor was famous. He was a great expert at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength. And even the Holy Grounds did not dare to slight him. How many resources did the young master of the Xinghua God Palace have? But it far surpassed Fu Jun. And Yen, you still want to quibble in front of me? Why? I will arrange for an expert to come over and investigate your past. How about that? The golden-robed young man held his wine cup and said indifferently. The red-robed beautiful girl turned pale when she heard that. You are indeed the Xinghua young master. You are ruthless enough. I am convinced that I lost in your hands. The red-robed beautiful girl immediately stood up and left. She did not even look at these 2 males. The golden-robed young man smiled at Fu Jun. Brother Fu Jun, you should thank me. Chapter 923. The plainly dressed Fu Jun stared blankly at the red-robed beauty, who was walking out of the restaurant. He was still in disbelief. How could this be? How could this be? We're screwed this time. The red-robed beautiful woman walked out, feeling sullen in her heart. She was extremely careful and cautious. Even if she tried to seduce young Master Xinghua in the dark, she only hinted at him slightly at the start and didn't leave anything behind. It was only after 1,000 years that she was certain that young Master Xinghua had taken the bait, that she truly kicked him out. She even purposely said that she couldn't let Lord Fu be too sad, and purposely stalled for time until now. I didn't expect that young Master Xinghua had been faking it all this time. In fact, his faking was even better than mine. The red-robed beauty silently mused to herself. She could be considered a veteran, yet she had not seen through young Master Xinghua's disguise at all. In fact, in the legends, young Master Xinghua had never had a Dao companion before, and only knew how to cultivate. Who would have thought that he was even better at disguising his emotions than her? So be it if you fail. Let's see if you can enter the Holy Land during the Star Convention this time. If you fail, you will have to change your identity. The red-robed beauty, and Yen, secretly calculated. She was quite decisive. To her, seducing people was just a way to obtain resources for her cultivation. Inside the restaurant, Fu Jun suffered a huge blow. Previously, he thought that his Dao companion only had a change of heart. Who would have thought that all these years had been a pretense and deceit? It was all fake. Brother Fu Jun, she is intentionally lying to you. Why are you still immersed in it? The golden-robed youth laughed as he poured some wine. Come, come, come. Let's drink. Now I know that she was just pretending in the past. But can she really transcend just because she wants to? Fu Jun smiled bitterly. Brother Sun Yi, I know that you have good intentions, and you have indeed helped me avoid even greater troubles in the future. But in my heart, I secretly wish that you had never pointed it out. The golden-robed youth was slightly taken aback. If it's true, how good would that be? Fu Jun turned his head and walked out. The golden-robed youth sat there alone, and poured himself a cup of wine. His gaze was distant as he muttered to himself, if it's true. He poured himself one glass after another and drank silently. Only when he was done did he pay the bill and leave. In the corner, Dongbua Shuiying, on the other hand, was watching everything that was happening. As one of the 5 teachers of the convention, he had long since received the name list and information regarding the participants of the Star Convention. Naturally, he knew these 3 people. Fu Jun, cultivated for 320 billion years. Rogue cultivator, adventuring outside. Not long after reaching the Unity Realm, he met an Yen, and became Dao companions with her. An Yen, she had cultivated for 1 trillion years, and was also an itinerant cultivator. Now, it seemed that she was an extremely cunning cultivator, who liked to seduce other experts to become Dao companions, thereby cheating them of their resources. Among the cultivators, there were all kinds of evil demons. Naturally, there were also those who deceived others. Xinghua Sun Yi, cultivating for 530 billion years, his background is huge. The previous 2 were loose cultivators, but Xinghua Sun Yi was the son of the famous Xinghua Emperor. Because of his father's bloodline, his cultivation speed was extremely fast, and the speed at which he stepped into the Unity Realm was even faster than Dongbua Shuiying, in just 8 billion years. But after that, his strength rose at an extremely slow pace. After all, his father was a primal chaos realm giant, and he could only reach the Unity Realm by relying on his bloodline cultivation system. Because his status was high enough, there was a lot of information regarding Xinghua Sun Yi. From young to old, there were a lot of records. According to the records, he had never had a Dao companion before. He only knew that he was immersed in cultivating in the Xinghua God Palace. It's a pity that his strength was ordinary. Interesting. Truly interesting. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the departing back of this golden-robed young man. A person who has never had a Dao companion, and only knows how to cultivate actually caused that person called in Yin to stumble. It seems that there are many unknowns that have yet to be discovered. Dongbui Shuiying became interested in this young master Xinghua. Naturally, no one present could recognize Dongbui Shuiying's identity, because as the teacher of the convention, those with some background would know who the teacher of the convention would be. The moment he was recognized, it would be troublesome. Thus, Dongbui Shuiying had to change his appearance and conceal his aura while walking in the Blade Emperor City. Blade Emperor City, within one of the many cavern dwellings that were specially used to receive important guests. Father Xinghua Sun returned to his cavern dwelling. A black-haired male was currently seated alone in the courtyard. He had a majestic figure. Even sitting there, he was taller than Xinghua Sun by a head. Just by emitting a small amount of aura, he was able to obstruct the operation laws of the sacred world. Wherever he was, the laws of the sacred world would have to retreat. Xinghua Emperor was famous for being cold and tyrannical, but in front of his son, this coldness and tyranny was much weaker. Sun Yi, Xinghua Emperor said, "You are the son of Xinghua. This time, I have invited you to participate in the Star Convention. I hope that you will not embarrass me. Your big brother has already gotten through the 5th level Star Pagoda. I don't have a high requirement for you. Just get through the 3rd level Star Pagoda." "I can't do it," Xinghua Sun calmly said. "You can't even do this? I can give you any cultivation resources you want, yet you can't do it?" Xinghua Emperor was slightly furious. "Unless you still haven't forgotten that illusory wife of yours? How could I forget? How could I forget?" Xinghua Sun stared at his father. "I can't forget. If you feel that I will embarrass you, I can give up right now and not participate in the Star Convention." Xinghua Emperor was stunned. He had no other choice. That was why he forced his son to participate in the Star Convention. He hoped that his son would try his best in this gathering where many experts would gather. "Go." Xinghua Emperor did not say anything else. Xinghua Sun turned around and left. Xinghua Emperor sat there silently. He was filled with regret. He had 2 sons. His youngest son had an extremely high talent. Even though he cultivated the bloodline system, he had also cultivated the ancient cultivation system. His youngest son specialized in the illusory realm in the ancient cultivation system, cultivating both great systems at the same time. The ancient cultivation system was only slightly slower than the bloodline cultivation system. He spent 300 million years to step into the void god realm, and that made Xinghua Emperor ecstatic. The bloodline cultivation system depended on the father, but the ancient cultivation system had a high requirement on comprehension ability. Even though the father was formidable, and the children's comprehension ability would not be too bad, it still depended on the children themselves. But his son could become a void god in the illusory realm in 300 million years. He did not care about the price to find a precious treasure that could cultivate the illusory realm. It was worth a total of 10,000 origin world rocks. It was called the Boundary Stone. The Boundary Stone would naturally produce an illusory realm within. Furthermore, it was an extremely exquisite illusory realm. The illusory realm formed would be different every time. Studying it would allow one to study all sorts of profound mysteries of the illusory realm. After his son obtained it, he would frequently send his consciousness into the Boundary Stone to experience many illusory realms. Those illusory realms were extremely mysterious. The internal law system was comparable to that of a miniature cosmos. Furthermore, it would be different every time. Hence, after cultivating for 2.6 billion years, his son Xinghua Sun had reached the unity realm in the ancient cultivation system. But following that, something happened. The Boundary Stone. The illusory realm was too real. The worlds formed within were filled with countless life forms. They were just like the real world. They had spirituality, emotions, gratitude, and grudges. It was precisely because it was sufficiently real that the operating law of this illusory realm was comparable to that of a miniature cosmos. But his son, Xinghua Sun, had fallen in love with a girl within the illusory realm. Even though he knew it was fake, Xinghua Sun treated it as a child at the start. After all, he had experienced too many illusory realms and all sorts of emotions. This was also the reason why he was good at disguising. But even though he knew it was fake, as time passed, Xing Huasun still fell into it. Because everything was too real. It had touched the inner heart of Xing Huasun. He fell into it. He did not wish for it to end. He had always been living with that girl in the illusory realm. They had even become Dao companions. He had even thought of ways to let his wife live longer. In the illusory realm, his wife had indeed become stronger and lived for a long time. But ultimately, it was just an illusory realm. This illusory realm would eventually collapse, and the boundary stone would automatically create a new illusory realm. No. When the illusory realm collapsed, when his wife disappeared in front of him, even though he had told his wife everything in the end, and she understood that she was a part of the illusory realm, she had accepted it. But Xing Huasun could not accept it. The world in front of him collapsed. All living beings were destroyed. Even his wife was destroyed within. No. At that moment, Xing Huasun had gone completely mad. Chapter 924. AI. Seated in the courtyard, Xing Hua Emperor sighed. How good would it be if I did not give the boundary stone to Sun Yi in the past? This son of his was practically crippled. He had thought of many methods, yet they were all useless. Because the heart injury had seeped into the essence of his soul. Even after sealing his memories, his son, Xing Huasun, had a disgust towards cultivation from the depths of his soul. He was no longer willing to cultivate. He had even invited some primal chaos giants who specialized in the illusory realm to help him weave an illusory realm. It was futile to guide him through the illusory realm. If he wanted to cure the heart disease, he had to weave a similar illusory realm world. But other experts could not replicate the illusory realm world created by the boundary stone in the past. He had even asked several cosmos gods, yet the answer was the same. The heart injury had seeped into the essence of the soul, and it was too hard to recover. Like some transcendence, they would not be able to recover because of some huge setback. And Xing Huasun was a unity realm genius. He was too powerful, and he specialized in the illusory realm. Such an expert would not easily be affected in his heart. But the moment his heart was truly injured, it would be 1,000,000,000 times harder to recover. It could even be said that external force was useless. There was only one way: to rely on Xing Huasun himself. But how difficult was it to struggle out of this quagmire? I have always kept him by my side. Maybe I am wrong. I should borrow this star convention to let him go out and adventure. Who knows, there might be a miracle. Xing Hua Emperor thought. He was powerful, yet he could not do anything when facing his son. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the star convention. So, Dongbua Shui Ying and Inquisitive Sky Hall Master flew side by side in the sky of the city. Many figures could be seen flying in the same direction. Within the Blade Emperor city, under the suppression of the unseen array, only those at the Unity Realm could fly. The layout of the venue for the Star Convention is not bad. Dongbua Shui Ying could already see the huge venue. This venue was located close to the Star Pagoda. Because the location of the Star Pagoda was fixed, the Blade Emperor city could only set up the venue in a relatively vast region. By controlling space, one could discover that the venue, which was 500 kilometers wide, had been forcefully twisted into a 500,000 kilometers wide venue as one flew closer. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, Elder Dongbua, please. An expert immediately led the way. After approaching the venue, most people were forced to land quickly and had to enter through the main entrance. As for Dongbua Shui Ying and Inquisitive Sky Palace Master, they were led to a towering platform in the distance. There were a total of 11 seats in the center of the platform, and a large number of seats on both sides. Elder Dongbo, please. Everyone's seats were already reserved. There were 11 seats at the center of the high platform. Seated at the centermost seat was the host of the Star Convention this time, Heart Imitation Religious Master. There were only 2 9th-level Star Pagoda Primal Chaos experts in the entire Blade Emperor city, and Heart Imitation Religious Master was one of them. Actually, with his identity and status, it was rare for him to host the Star Convention, that happened once every trillion years. Nonetheless, there was a 9th-level Star Pagoda Strength, General Hatchet Palace Master, amongst the teachers of the convention this time. Since General Hatchet Palace Master was here, as the host of this event, Saber Emperor City naturally couldn't lower their head. Hence, Heart Imitation Religious Master personally came to host this event. To the left of Heart Imitation Religious Master were the 5 teachers of the convention. They were General Hatchet Palace Master, Violet Slaughter Island Master, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, General Heaven Light, and Dongbo Shuang. To the right of him were the Primal Chaos guests that came from the holy grounds like Inquisitive Sky Palace Master, and the experts from the Star City. Other than the 11 seats at the center, there were some seats by the side for Primal Chaos giants that came from non-holy grounds. Even someone as powerful as Imperial Lord Xinghua, because he wasn't a member of a sacred land, was only able to sit at the side. This was the rule of the previous Star Convention. Only experts from the 6 great holy grounds could sit at the center. General Hatchet, who would have thought that you would come to be a teacher of the convention this time? Heart Imitation Religious Master chuckled. Heart Imitation Religious Master had a strange appearance. His face was thin and long, and his facial features were slightly ugly. But his aura was warm, and even those who were picky about appearances would feel joy from the bottom of their hearts when they saw him. It is time for me to come out and have a walk. I won't be able to find an opportunity to break through if I keep cultivating in closed-door cultivation. General Hatchet said, "This final step is indeed hard for me to take." Heart Imitation Religious Master shook his head. He was once an outstanding cultivator, and was the most dazzling cultivator of an era. He was also one of the only 2 in the history of the 6 great holy grounds who had gotten through the 7th floor of Star Tower. He had also improved by leaps and bounds at the Primal Chaos realm. He was so confident that he even created a religion and spread his Tao wantonly. Countless cultivators worshipped him and obeyed his orders. Nevertheless, after reaching the pinnacle of the Primal Chaos realm, the 9th-level Star Pagoda, he stagnated here. Even though he knew that his attainments in certain aspects weren't any weaker than Cosmos Gods, if he did not take that final step, there would ultimately be a qualitative difference between him and Cosmos Gods. On the high platform of the Star Convention, the Primal Chaos Giants were chatting in groups of 2s and 3s. The majority of them knew each other. As for Dongbo Shuang, he sat by the side of the central host seat. He remained silent, because the person beside him was General Heaven Light. General Heaven Light's body was faintly covered in golden light. He was emitting a slight pressure that suppressed Dongbo Shuang by the side. This caused Dongbo Shuang's expression to change slightly. He isn't even restraining his pressure, and is deliberately suppressing me? General Heaven Light was at the 8th-level Star Pagoda Strength. His pressure was relatively tyrannical. Dongbo Shuang directly controlled his law domain to forcefully obstruct the other party's pressure. One was suppressing, and the other was resisting. The relationship between both parties became even stiffer. A brat at the Unity Realm thinks he is qualified to stand on the same level as us? General Heaven Light glanced at Dongbo Shuang from the corner of his eyes. He was too lazy to look at him anymore, and was even more too lazy to speak. He was famous for being tyrannical even amongst Primal Chaos Giants. He would directly berate and suppress some of the weaker Primal Chaos Giants, much less those at the Unity Realm. In his eyes, Unity Realm experts were ants. Even his own disciples from Blade Emperor City were trembling in fear when facing General Heaven Light. Who would have thought that a Unity Realm expert would stand on the same level as him? General Heaven Light felt slightly embarrassed. It's a pity that this was decided by the Cosmos Gods, and he could not do anything about it. But for him to welcome Dongbo Shuang with a smile? That was impossible. Fellow cultivators. A warm voice reverberated across the entire venue, as if it was ringing in the soul of everyone. Heart Imitation Religious Master chuckled as he began explaining the origin of the Star Convention and the rules of it. The process of the Star Convention was simple. First was the primary selection. More than 16,000 talented cultivators participating in the Star Convention would attempt the Star Pagoda. According to their results, The treasure spirit of the Star Pagoda would judge and select the top 100 strongest cultivators. The treasure spirit was absolutely fair. It was still able to rank the cultivators based on their strength. And the teacher of the convention would have 1,000 years to observe these talented cultivators. These talented cultivators could also come and seek guidance from the teacher of the convention. During this 1,000 years, the teacher of the convention would observe them thoroughly before picking out those who were weaker, but filled with potential. Each teacher would pick out 20 of them. There would be a total of 100 of them. Through the selection of the teachers and the Star Pagoda, a total of 200 would be chosen. These 200 cultivators were qualified to enter the holy ground. But under such circumstances, they were ordinary disciples. After the primary selection, these 200 cultivators would be provided with resources, absolute art scriptures, guidance from experts, and others. They would cultivate for 10,000 years. Naturally, they would cultivate in a place where time was accelerated. In reality, they would cultivate for a total of 1,000,000 years. Even though the time was short, if they did not have good resources or guidance in the past, and had sufficient accumulation, most would be able to improve in this 1,000,000 years. Whether they could improve or not would depend on their potential. After the primary selection, they would cultivate for 10,000 years. After cultivating, these 200 cultivators would battle, and the top 5 would be decided through battle. Furthermore, after the battle ended, they would have to attempt the Star Pagoda once again. According to their results in the Star Pagoda and their performance during the final battle, the teacher of the convention would have a total of 10,000 years to observe them and even personally guide them. After 10,000 years, the final decision would be made, and another 5 would be chosen. A total of 10. These 10 were the most outstanding geniuses chosen by the convention. They would be bestowed with resources and would be nurtured by the holy ground. Furthermore, they could choose to join any holy ground. Finally, the 5 teachers of the convention would give a public lecture on the Tao to many cultivators. After all, this was a supreme convention where geniuses were chosen, and many cultivators would come to spectate. This public lecture on the Tao was also a form of help to those loose cultivators. After the public lecture on the Tao, the entire convention came to an end. At the venue of the Star Convention, there were more than 16,000 talented cultivators below. They had rushed over from various sacred worlds and primal chaos, void to participate in this Star Convention. Other than them, there were also a large number of cultivators spectating the convention. Just the residents of Blade Emperor City alone numbered in the billions. There were also those who specially rushed over. They were as dense as a sea, and they occupied 90% of the entire venue. Look, there is actually a Unity Realm cultivator up there. This is weird. They should all be primal chaos giants. Why is there a Unity Realm cultivator? Many cultivators spectating the convention looked at the high platform. On the platform, Dombo Ying's position was extremely conspicuous. I heard that there is a Unity Realm expert amongst the teachers of the convention this time. At that moment, some of the more well-informed people began speaking. Chapter 925. Unity Realm? Don't speak nonsense. I have seen many star conventions in the Blade Emperor City, and every time, the teacher of the convention would be a primal chaos giant. Since when could a Unity Realm expert become a teacher of the convention? One has to know that those participating in the convention are all at the Unity Realm, and they are even geniuses. Letting a Unity Realm expert be their teacher? Right. I have never heard of it before. I have a regular customer at my restaurant who is a disciple of the Blade Emperor City. He was the one who told me that the teacher of the convention this time is at the Unity Realm, and his name is Dombo Shuang. He is from the Great Void Heaven Temple. The Great Void Heaven Temple's Dombo Shuang? Various places began discussing. After all, they were ordinary cultivators. Their information was more isolated, and only those who had cultivated for a long time and were famous enough would know of it. For instance, Dombo Shuang rose too quickly, and few of these ordinary cultivators knew of it. Only within the Blade Emperor City, Some of their good friends were disciples of the Blade Emperor city. Only then would they understand the news. As they discussed 1 to 10, and 10 to 100, they gradually gained some understanding of it. I've heard that in the 6 great holy grounds, in this current era, this elder Dongbua is considered the strongest Unity Realm expert, and is qualified to be the teacher of the convention. The strongest Unity Realm expert of the 6 great holy grounds? So what? The teachers of the convention are usually primal chaos giants, and it is said that ordinary primal chaos giants are not qualified. Only the strongest are qualified. Isn't it a joke for a Unity Realm expert to take on the role? Can his foresight be compared to the other 4 teachers? It's slightly lacking. What's the point of us talking about it here? These ordinary cultivators were discussing. If one said that they were instinctively fearful of primal chaos giants, then they were not fearful of Unity Realm experts. After all, Unity Realm experts were quite common. Letting a Unity Realm expert take on the role of a teacher of the convention was something these ordinary cultivators were unconvinced of. The primary selection of the Star Convention soon began. Dongbua Shueying and the rest were all seated high up. There were also delicacies and good wine. As for the 16,000 genius cultivators below, they were all heading towards the Star Tower at the side of the venue in order to explore. The Star Pagoda would control the flow of time so that the battles could proceed faster. But even if it was accelerated by 100 times, only a few thousand cultivators would pass through in a single day. After all, they were thinking of ways to kill as many destruction devils as possible. Fortunately, they performed better in the Star Pagoda, allowing their rankings to be higher. First, the Firehorn Withered Tree. Second, Ka Senior. In the void next to the Star Tower, names appeared one by one. The lists kept increasing, and the rankings kept changing. Clearly, the artifact spirit of the Star Tower was giving a new ranking based on every new cultivator who had passed the Star Tower. The rankings would definitely be made public. Firstly, it was fair. The second was to stimulate those genius cultivators. Thirdly, those at the bottom of the rankings also understood how far behind they were. After all, those who were qualified to come were all genius cultivators. In the past, they had seen very few geniuses, so they thought that they were extraordinary. The Star Convention this time would be a great stimulation for them. 5 days. The preliminaries, the Star Pagoda selection had ended. A detailed name list had been arranged. Amen. Dongbua Shueying looked up at the densely packed name list by the side of the Star Pagoda. The 3 brats I saw previously, Wu, the sons of Xinghua Emperor, their rankings are quite ordinary. That one called Fu Jun was ranked relatively high at the 126th rank. But he seemed to lack some luck. If he could kill his way into the top 100, he would be able to pass through the preliminaries without the teachers of the convention choosing him. Ni Yen, ranked 1932. Xinghua Sun Yi, ranked 3663. Ranked over 3000? Dongbua Shueying shook his head inwardly. That time, he coincidentally met 3 Unity Realm cultivators. He was most interested in that young master Xinghua. Though his ranking was too ordinary, his ranking is so low. The preliminaries only select 200 cultivators. The possibility of him passing through the preliminaries is negligible. The Star Pagoda would select 100, and the 5 teachers of the convention would select 100. There would only be a total of 200 cultivators. 3,663? Xinghua Emperor, who came to spectate from the high platform, frowned slightly. He sighed inwardly. This ranking was truly low. One had to know that those who came to participate were not disciples of the holy grounds. Most of them were rogue cultivators who roamed the world. There were very few who had a huge background. This son of his was considered to have good cultivation resources. Yet he was only ranked this way. The son of Xinghua Emperor would only be evaluated lower when the teachers of the convention chose him. The Star Pagoda selection had ended. Countless ordinary cultivators who came to spectate began to leave. After all, the teacher selection would take 1,000 years, and cultivation would take another 10,000 years. In other words, the next public battle would be held 11,000 years later. On the high platform, one by one, They stood up and left. 5 teachers. Heart imitation religious master took the initiative to speak to the 5 teachers of the convention. The Star Pagoda selection has ended, and there is a ranking. In a while, their battle videos will be sent to you. You have to choose well. Your choice will determine the fate of these geniuses. Big Brother Heart Imitation, rest assured, we will naturally be cautious and choose those with great potential. General Heaven Light said. Elder Dongbua, don't throw the face of your great void heaven temple. 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor said coldly. 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor was draped in a black robe. He emitted a cold aura, and his voice was cold and sharp. General Hatchet Palace Master by the side was startled. The beautiful Violet Slaughter Island Master was also slightly startled. These words were truly overboard. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed slightly. Honestly speaking, he originally had a good impression of 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, because the other party was a member of the Void God Temple. The Void Primogenitor was his teacher. It was fine if General Heaven Light did not treat him well. But this 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor spoke so viciously, and there was a group of primal chaos giants around. If he were to reveal his identity as a Void Walker, the attitude of 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor might change. But because Sacred Master had always wanted to chase after his teacher, Gu Qi, Dongbua Shui Ying would not deliberately reveal his identity as a Void Walker. There is no need for you to trouble 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, Dongbua Shui Ying said. Since the various cosmos gods have chosen me, they naturally have their reasons. 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor snorted before turning around and leaving. Actually, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor's reputation outside was not bad. He could be considered as someone who hated evil like an enemy, though he was relatively cold. But being a void creature, he was used to the strong and the weak. In his opinion, the Unity Realm Dongbua Shui Ying was not on the same level as them at the Primal Chaos Realm. He naturally did not like him, and was too lazy to give him any face. The various cosmos gods have chosen you. Don't disappoint them. General Heaven Light looked at Dongbua Shui Ying with a smile that did not seem like one before leaving. Dongbua Shui Ying did not say anything. Suddenly, he felt a hand landing on his shoulder. This startled Dongbua Shui Ying. He immediately turned over. General Hatchet Palace Master was thin and white. Even though he had 2 fangs, it gave others the feeling that his body was weak. He chuckled. There are all kinds of tempers among cultivators. Don't mind the 2 of them too much. General Hatchet Palace Master. Dongbua Shui Ying bowed. This was not the first time he met General Hatchet Palace Master. The other party was on the same level as Black Emperor and Primal Chaos Hall Master. Dongbua Brat, I stand by your side too. The beautiful violet-robed Violet Slaughter Island Master chuckled. Her voice was melodious. I do not like that Heaven Light either. In the future, if you are stronger than him, you must teach him a good lesson and help me vent my anger. Heart Imitation Religious Master was still present by the side. He felt slightly awkward when he heard that because General Heaven Light was from their Blade Emperor city. Fellow cultivators, let us go. Heart Imitation Religious Master chuckled. At the same time, he gave a friendly smile to Dongbua Shui Ying. Chapter 926. Night. Dongbua Shui Ying sat alone in the courtyard. There were battle projections in front of him. They were the battle projections of those talented cultivators, challenging the Star Pagoda. There were female attendants by the side, helping to boil and pour wine for him. He held the wine cup and lightly drank a mouthful. His body is quite strong. He should be from the strongest warrior system. Dongbua Shui Ying observed and evaluated in his heart. Being a teacher of the convention isn't an easy task. Just watching the battle images of more than 10,000 genius cultivators, and analyzing and evaluating their strength was not easy, let alone considering their background, origins, and age. Even though most of them were instantly eliminated, there were still over 1,000 that needed to be carefully considered. They had their own cultivation experiences, different strengths, and different areas of expertise. This person actually only got through the first level of Star Pagoda? Too weak. Dongbua Shui Ying was instantly eliminated. Even if his cultivation conditions were bad, and he did not have any absolute art, as long as his comprehension ability was high enough, he should not be at the bottom of the first level after reaching the Unity Realm. This time, there were over 10,000 talented cultivators. There was one who got through the 4th level of Star Pagoda. His name was Tsangqiong Tianyin. He cultivated for 1.2 trillion years, and was purely a loose cultivator. He had never received guidance from any formidable experts. He had long attracted the attention of the 6 great holy grounds. After all, if not for the countless scriptures and resources provided by the Great Void Heaven Temple, Dongbo Shueying might not have such achievements even if he cultivated for 1 trillion years. Of course, it was possible that his achievements were higher than Tsangqiong Tianyin's. There were a total of 392 who got through the 3rd level of Star Pagoda. There were a total of 4,018 who got through the 2nd level of Star Pagoda. The remaining were all those who got through the 1st level of Star Pagoda. After all, they were at the Unity Realm, and it was impossible for them to not get through the 1st level. Elder. A guard walked in from outside the courtyard. He respectfully reported, "Monarch Hidden Dragon is seeking an audience with you outside the residence. Hurry up and invite him in," Dongbo Shueying hurriedly said. He then reacted. He stood up and took the initiative to walk out. In his heart he was muttering, "This is the biggest problem in choosing talented cultivators." The 6 great sacred grounds were very cautious in accepting disciples, and there were too few of them. The Star Convention was a rare opportunity to enter the 6 great sacred grounds. Once they entered, even if they couldn't obtain any resources, it would still be an invisible life-saving talisman. After all, once the enemy heard that they were disciples of the 6 great holy lands, they would be afraid. If their statuses were high enough, even cosmos gods would not easily kill them, much less primal chaos existences. As for the 5 teachers, what kind of status did General Hatchet Palace Master have? General Heaven Light, 5 Luster Serpent Ancestor, and Violet Slaughter Island Master were all extremely strong existences at the 8th level Star Pagoda Primal Chaos Realm. It was too difficult to seek their help. On the surface, Dongbo Shueying, who was only at the Unity Realm, seemed to be the easiest to defeat. "I have long given the order to not meet any Unity Realm experts," Dongbo Shueying thought. "But I can't possibly not meet Primal Chaos Realm experts." He could be considered the strongest Unity Realm expert in the 6 sacred grounds. The other Unity Realm experts were not to be seen, because it was not targeted at an individual, but all Unity Realm experts. Those Unity Realm experts who wanted to see him would not be too angry. But it was different for Primal Chaos Giants. They were already giving a lot of face by personally paying a visit to a Unity expert. If they were to reject him, they would be going overboard. Fortunately, there are very few talented cultivators who have a Primal Chaos Realm Giant behind the back of the Star Convention. There are even fewer who came to visit me. I can count them with my fingers. Dongbo Shueying thought. It was still fine to deal with them, since there were few of them. At the entrance of the residence, there stood a seemingly wooden male. He seemed ordinary, and his aura was completely hidden. If one did not know him, one would not think that he was the famous Monarch Hidden Dragon. Even though Monarch Hidden Dragon did not rely on any sacred ground superpower, he had taken the initiative to head to the boundary of the void. He had killed many destruction devils, and was extremely valiant, earning the admiration of many Primal Chaos Realm Giants. He was straightforward, loyal, and did not care about his life for a promise. Dongbo Shueying admired him a lot too. "Monarch Hidden Dragon." Dongbo Shueying greeted. "I have disturbed Elder by coming. Who would have thought that Elder would take the initiative to welcome me?" Monarch Hidden Dragon chuckled. "It is my honor for Monarch to come and meet me. How would I dare to slight you? Monarch, please." The other party was being courteous. Naturally, Dongbo Shueying would not put on airs. He welcomed Monarch Hidden Dragon into the cavern dwelling. The two of them sat down in the courtyard. A female attendant had prepared a wine set by the side, and poured some good wine for Monarch Hidden Dragon. "You can withdraw first," Dongbo Shueying ordered. Yes. The female attendant retreated. Monarch Hidden Dragon chuckled. I know Elder is very busy now. I shall not waste your time. I came here hoping for Elder to help me with something. He is here. Dongbua Shuang grumbled inwardly. Please say. Dongbua Shuang said. This time, there was indeed a disciple of Monarch Hidden Dragon, who participated in the Star Convention. He was ranked over 600. It's just that he had cultivated for a long time, a total of 1.8 trillion years. Furthermore, he was personally taught by Monarch Hidden Dragon. Hence, those ranked in front were naturally more qualified to be chosen. He is called Chen Xiong. Monarch Hidden Dragon said. Ah. Dongbua Shuang was startled. Chen Xiong. This wasn't Monarch Hidden Dragon's disciple. It was another rogue cultivator without any background. He is the personal disciple of an old friend of mine. Monarch Hidden Dragon sighed. My old friend is only at the Unity Realm. This time, I brought my disciple here. When I saw this little fellow Chen Xiong, I immediately recognized his relationship with my good friend. It's a pity that my good friend has already died. He was the disciple that my good friend took in before his death. When my good friend died, this little fellow had only just become a true god. After that, he relied on himself to cultivate until now. I have tested him before. His potential and comprehension are above that of my disciple. Hence, I shamelessly came here, hoping to give this little fellow a chance. Chen Xiong? Dongbua Shuang naturally remembered this little fellow. His ranking was very low. He was ranked 2001st. However, his cultivation time was extremely short. He had only cultivated for a mere 80 billion years. As a rogue cultivator, his cultivation time was not even 100 billion years. It was already very shocking. His cultivation time is very short. In this Star Convention, in terms of cultivation time, he is ranked second. Dongbua Shuang said. Although his ranking is slightly lower, his potential is extremely high. Even if Monarch Hidden Dragon didn't look for me, the possibility of him being chosen by the 5 teachers of the convention is extremely high. I know. If his potential isn't enough, I wouldn't have come. Monarch Hidden Dragon said. I'm just afraid of an accident. After all, there are many geniuses this time around. I will study it carefully. If I can help, I will do my best. Dongbua Shuang didn't say anything definite. After all, he had not seen the majority of the battle recordings of these genius cultivators. All right. Monarch Hidden Dragon stood up and smiled. Then I shall not disturb you any further. Dongbua Shuang immediately sent Monarch Hidden Dragon off. This Monarch Hidden Dragon sure is easy to talk to. After the other party left, Dongbua Shuang continued to watch the battle recordings in the courtyard. I thought that he would come to persuade me for his disciple. To think that he is actually the disciple of an old friend. Furthermore, he is someone with extremely high potential. Because a full 1,000 years have passed. Some of those who wanted to persuade Monarch Hidden Dragon were not in a rush. Instead, on the first day, Monarch Hidden Dragon visited 5 teachers of the convention, asking them to help him pay attention to Chen Xiong. And the last teacher he visited, General Hatchet Palace Master, said directly, Ha ha ha, Brother Hidden Dragon, rest assured. I will directly choose this brat Chen Xiong. This time, I took the initiative to become a teacher of the convention because I want to find 1 or 2 disciples. I quite like this brat Chen Xiong. If fate allows it, he might become my personal disciple. Monarch Hidden Dragon was instantly delighted. Haha, if I knew this would happen, I wouldn't need to look for the other 4 teachers of the convention. But after thinking about it, he discovered that Chen Xiong's battle style was indeed similar to General Hatchet Palace Master. You don't have to worry about Chen Xiong. It's just that your own disciple seems to have ordinary potential. General Hatchet Palace Master shook his head. How can all of them be amazing? Monarch Hidden Dragon did not seem to care. And in the following days, there were 2 consecutive primal chaos giants who came to visit Dongbua Shuang. It's just that the talented cultivators they wanted to ask for help were far inferior to Chen Xiong in terms of potential. Furthermore, according to the judgment of Dongbua Shuang, they could not even enter the top 300. Even though he had decided to exclude them in his heart, he did not say anything on the surface. Still, he did not agree to it. A month after the Star Convention was held, Elder Xinghua Emperor has come to visit. Even the protector did not dare to say the words seeking an audience. Xinghua Emperor? Dongbua Shueying was greatly startled. This was in existence at the 9th level Star Pagoda strength, and even Cosmos gods had to treat him politely. Bitter. That son of his has cultivated for a longer period, yet his ranking is too low. Dongbua Shueying felt bitter in his heart. He already had a good impression of Xinghua Sun Yi before the convention. It's just that the other party's performance was too ordinary. In terms of potential, he was ranked outside the top 1,000. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.